Rise of the sun, you shall see food approaching.
Manna from heaven as the stream begins.
Welcome to YouTube. Hi, Glidus.
Hello, I've just started YouTube.
What are we doing on YouTube?
Today I'll be discussing with you that we've done this before. You don't need me to explain. We're going to talk about food descriptions in the Song of Ice and Fire books by acclaimed sci-fi / horror / fantasy author George R.R. Martin.
That's what I don't appreciate about George, is that he's a multi-genre aficionado.
He's been all over genre.
His oeuvre extends far beyond the fantasy for which
He's got all
acclaimed.
sorts of genres in his oeuvre.
He's a Renaissance man. He's a dabbler. He's got it all. He's a triple threat.
He sort of is, yeah. He can dance and sing.
And he's got a
And whichever the third one is.
Yeah. He's gone for the EGOT. I just know it. Welcome, everybody. We are talking about food. So I hope you're hungry. And if you're not hungry, you will be very soon. Because we are continuing our long-awaited series ranking every food description in the Game of Thrones
people have
books.
been clambering for this.
This is what people want. And I think that it's time to give it to them.
We're back from our hiatus.
Were we in a hiatus?
Yeah.
It was a very productive hiatus.
It really was.
Productive.
My goodness, we got so much done.
But we're back, baby, and we're talking about food.
The num-nums.
And it's going to be a good time. So, we are up to near the start of A Dance with Dragons.
That's right, we did that one stream earlier in the year where we talked about 4 or 5 meals.
Yeah.
Then I had to dog out of here.
It was not a very efficient or fast-paced stream.
This one will be.
And we've got to be efficient, because I don't want that rat bastard Alt-Shift-X thinking that Shift is faster than Swift, because that's just
true.
not true.
Yeah, we know that he's working on a big video about food in Ice and Fire. Big 80-minute essay about meals in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Shift is out there cooking up a 3-hour video essay about the history of lamprey pie.
A 4-course video essay.
Ooh. That's what we realized. This series should have been named after.
Yeah, we should have started with appetizers, and now we're on the dessert course.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the dessert might be Dunkin' Egg food descriptions.
Oh, shit. A coda.
I think this is the grand banquet third course finale showdown.
This is the roast goose.
This is the roast goose.
And next time we'll discuss meals in the auxiliary books.
The auxiliary books.
Yes, the errata.
The what do they call it in the Bible? The the extra books that.
I believe that's the New Testament.
Well, no, the extra books.
Oh, the Apocrypha?
The Apocrypha, yeah.
Did I actually know that? That's crazy.
Yeah. No, isn't that a wonderful word, Apocrypha?
It is a lovely word.
Makes me hungry. Makes me want to rank some food descriptions.
Makes me want to crack some eggs open.
I did see that someone made a graph.
Oh, people have been crazy about this series.
Charting the rankings for each of the food descriptions in this series. Because we must have done hundreds by now, right?
Yeah.
So ranking them out over the course of the series, seeing the quality of the food go up and down and all around. So shouts out to the people who have graphed it.
Shouts out? Is that the appropriate plural?
Well, I'm not going to give just one shout.
No,
I think
that
these
makes
people are
sense.
deserving of multiple shouts. One shout is insufficient.
Shouts
Glidus.
out. I approve.
So we're going to rank some food, and we are not going to answer donations or super chats until the end.
We realize that that sort of behavior has stifled previous streams.
Yes, as much as we love responding to your wonderfully on-topic and wonderfully off-topic commentary, in the interests of efficiency, we're going to focus on ranking food, at least for now.
That's what the people want.
And shouts outs also to Schubert Reads for moderating the live chat.
Thank you, Schubert.
Shouts outs for Schubert.
Schubert's
Schubert
reads.
shouts. Schubert reads, but Schubert also shouts.
Shouts with a C, as
have
well
it
as
on
an S and an H.
Good authority, yes. All right. So, we're in A Dance with Dragons. We're rating some food on an S to F scale.
This is what S looks like?
For those who weren't present...
For the invention of the letter S.
Well, it was more recent than you'd think. Because until Salazar Slytherin invented the letter S...
Is that right?
In 1776...
Oh, I think you've got your Harry Potter lore mixed up there.
With my alphabet law.
1776.
Well, there's a lot of
Alphabet.
S's
Don't
in
you get me
there.
started on alphabet law. You know I'll go on forever.
I was gonna say Glidus. I can't even spoil. I'm not the one to tell you this, but Glidus does have an alphabet adjacent article approaching alphabetically.
Ooh,
Yeah.
well done with the alliteration.
Yeah. At all
It's
attitude,
appropriate
altitude,
alliteration.
and amplification. Aptly.
There's a bit of assonance there as well.
Articule. All right. So, John.
John.
Jon Snow. Do y'all remember him?
I
He's
do.
the sad one. With
We
the good
spoke
hair.
about him for way too long earlier this year,
We
and
did
honestly,
do
I'm
that.
annoyed that we're still talking about him.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought it up because those viewing, if you have not yet seen the fake Jon
don't
Snow,
start the food
our
descriptions with an
magnum
ad.
opus,
My God.
don't
I'm insult the
excited
viewers.
about the fake
No,
Jon Snow.
it's pretty cool that
It's
we did
pretty
that.
cool.
I mean, cool in the like nerdiest way possible.
And currently, the only places to watch it are on Nebula and the Glidus Patreon.
I believe you can also watch it on that scoundrel Alt Shift X's Patreon. Like, did he buy you out or something?
Well, dick's on him because that Patreon's paused.
Oh, he's not making any money on
So
that.
this is your opportunity to watch the fake Jon Snow
Yeah.
without Alt Shift X, that rat bastard, getting any financial benefit of any kind. So now's the time to strike, is what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, we're not here for the fake Jon Snow. We're here for food.
This is the real Jon Snow, and he's eating breakfast.
He's eating breakfast. Are you ready for breakfast with John?
I was born to eat breakfast with John,
3 corns and 1 roast raven.
said Dolores said.
Very good, my lord. Only Hobbs made boiled eggs, black sausage, and apples stewed with prunes. The apples stewed with prunes are excellent, except for the prunes. I won't eat prunes myself. Well, there was one time when Hob chopped them up with chestnuts and carrots and hid them in a hen. Never trust a cook, my lord. They'll prune you when you least expect it.
This is an all-time classic Dolores said passage, I believe.
Yeah, no, this is a banger. He's making his opinions known.
He
He's
snuck
not
a-
afraid to savage a prune.
He snuck a prune pun in there also.
What's the prune?
They'll
pun?
prune you when you least expect it.
Right, because it's like the verb prune to
Exactly.
like cut you back.
It's honestly a genius bit of wordplay.
It's pretty good. I mean, it makes me wonder about the etymology. Like, does
Where does
one
that come
prune
from?
a
Yeah.
prune tree? Do prunes grow on trees or on bushes, or do they come out of like the sky? I don't know where prunes come from.
I thought, like, intuitively, I thought they were a bush or a vine.
A prune's like a. I think it's related to the grape family, actually. Like
The
like,
grape
If
family.
you desiccate
Like
a
a
grape
distant cousin
into
of
a
the grapes.
into a raisin, but if you desiccate a raisin more, it becomes a prune.
That's not the order of operations
Like
there, I
like
don't
a
believe.
sultana is the larval stage of the prune.
Okay, so we're going backwards into a grape. What if you continue adding water back into the grape?
Yeah,
What happens?
yeah. No, well, you get like a Violet Beauregard situation.
Ah,
Yeah,
disgusting.
yeah.
So we discuss the meal at hand.
Yeah, I think it sounds.
Well, there are a few
Great.
described here, actually.
Yeah, well, there's sort of 2 distinct meals. Well, yeah, no, that's true. There's 3 corns and 1 roast raven as well,
Yeah.
which I think is a threat made in jest to Jayor's raven. Since I'm streaming with you, I'm going to say Jayor instead of Jor,
Thank you.
in your honor. Would you eat 3 corns and 1 roast raven?
Never had raven, and I'm not sure like what the corn is referring to here. Like when you say 1 corn, please, are you asking for a cob of corn or a single kernel?
I think a single kernel is cruel and unusual. Like it's
Well, this is a
overly-
threat, isn't it? And Jayor's raven eats corn by the kernel, surely.
I think it's usually a handful of kernels.
Hmm.
When the raven says corn, the raven is not asking for 1 kernel. The raven is asking for a handful of corn.
But the raven doesn't have hands. How does it know what a handful?
A clawful.
Remember when we said this is going to be fast and efficient?
I think however many corn kernels you can fit into 1 raven's claw, with our second Harry Potter reference for today,
Oh, very good.
that is the unit of measurement with which corn is measured.
Okay, well,
1 raven's fist full of corn.
I don't like the idea of eating a raven.
No?
Like the same way that eating other... I mean, most animals are more intelligent than we give them credit for. But ravens particularly are just like I respect them too much, you know.
Well, if they're so smart, they'd outwit my efforts to cook them.
That's
Glidus.
true. Why aren't they eating us?
They say octopuses are intelligent, but here I am eating calamari.
Yeah, they've never invented X, the everything app.
No, they haven't. And so that's why I will feast upon their flesh.
It's delicious too, unfortunately.
I agree that ravens are not the most appealing birds to eat. Like, they don't look very, like, plump and succulent. They look sort of pointy and skinny to me.
Yep.
So, like, I would try a roast raven,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. If it had already died and was being served to me, like, sure, I might give it a go.
But I think, like, just a roast raven on its own with just, like, 3 fistfuls of corn is, like,
That's not a meal.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a well thought out
Yeah.
meal. So, are we calling this a C? I feel like this is a C.
Yeah, like it sounds edible. Like it's not
Yeah.
horrible.
I wouldn't say no. I would try it, but I wouldn't be all that excited.
It's probably not
for
good
it.
though.
Yeah.
All right, press the C button so the people
Caw.
the people watching along without listening know what we thought of that one
Yes. All right, on to our second food description
of this passage.
within this passage. Hob
He's boiled some eggs.
and black sausage.
He's made some black sausage and he's stewed some apples with prunes.
That sounds pretty great.
And even Dolores Ed, a remarkably, dull person,
Yeah.
he thinks that the apples are brilliant.
This might be the most positive thing that Dolores Ed has said in this entire series.
Indeed.
So you know it's good.
And then the next meal where Hob chopped up some prunes with chestnuts and carrots and stuffed them in a chicken, that sounds pretty good too.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
I think these are both... I'm leaning towards A for the last one, at least.
Imagine the texture of, like, the chestnuts on the prunes and the hen. That's a lot of texture going on. But,
Hob has a more complex palate than you'd expect from someone at, like, a monastic order wasting away at the top of the world.
yeah, well, the old monks used to brew beer all day and grow
Yeah, what else are they going to do with their days?
peas in their Punnett squares like a bunch of nerds.
That's right.
So, yeah, I think this sounds good. Boiled eggs, black sausage, apples stewed with prunes. I think that's... Ooh, what do you think it is?
I'd be happy to give this an A, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
I'd like a... Yeah, all right, A.
But provide your thoughts.
Well, I was just thinking like some bacon and bread would round this out, you know?
Oh, you think it's missing...
I feel like there's some key ingredients missing here. But there's a lot of protein in there.
Yeah, true.
There's eggs and sausage, so yeah, we're cooking. We're cooking. All right, so the third food description.
Yeah.
The chestnuts, carrots in a hen with prunes.
I think that this is undeniably A to begin with.
Yeah, I agree very much. That sounds wonderful. All right, and put your ratings in the live chat.
Yeah,
as well,
rate
guys.
along with us.
Because we want to know if you're agreeing or disagreeing with our analysis, you know?
Oh, actually, so the raven on offer here in that first description is specifically Jayor's raven, which, like, eats a lot of sweet corn.
This is a corn-fattened raven.
Exactly. So maybe it would be more palatable than your average raven.
Do you think that the taste of the raven might be affected by the fact that it contains the soul of Brynden River's blood raven?
Yes, I do.
I don't think it's going to be a very scrumptious soul.
Yeah.
I think that is a harsh and malign soul that has stayed too long on this mortal plane.
I don't know if you could find a passage that supports this, but I get the feeling that George R.R. Martin thinks that soul would affect taste. You know?
Look, I mean, now that we've spent 20 hours discussing food in this series, I have to concur because...
Yeah. Soul and taste are synonymous, as like memory and song are, you know,
Yes.
as ghost and love are.
Yeah, food is connected to memory and identity and love and warmth and everything good. So if a evil soul is in your food, like Blood Raven skin changing into Jayor's Raven, I think it's going to taste a bit yucky.
Even though it's been eating corn its whole life.
Yeah, well, that's the Ice and Fire, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
a song of corn and ghosts.
the human heart...
in corn with itself. The human heart engorged with corn.
Wow. Yeah, no, look,
Wow.
I'm glad you brought that up
Yeah.
because there's definitely layers to that initial food description.
And like the human souls and food will definitely come up later in this stream.
Oh, don't you doubt it.
Oh dear.
And I mean, human souls in both senses of the world when we get to, we're getting to the cannibalism section with Stannis' army.
That is what I meant.
Yeah, no, well, I was explaining it to the slower audiences,
Oh,
slower
wow.
members of the audience,
If you didn't get that one already,
and for myself.
keep up.
Glidus is 10 steps ahead here. Glidus is already eating dessert. I'm still on breakfast. He's streets ahead. Okay, so our next food description is Stannis, who is currently at Castle Black with Lord Commander Jon Snow, who waves away his servants and says, Devon, bring me food, boiled eggs, and lemon water.
Lemon water is an interesting one here, I think.
Yeah.
Coming from Stannis.
I think he just recognizes that without citrus, his teeth will fall out.
Yeah, he's worried about scurvy.
But there's also like the sourness and tartness of lemon, which tells us that Stannis' personality is quite sour and tart. He's a sour tart, isn't he?
Is he? Yeah.
He is a bit. It's the most like pragmatic,
Yeah,
simple.
boiled eggs is
joyless,
just like,
boring.
I don't care, give me food. It's food. It's fuel for my body so that I can continue doing the things I need to do.
But remember when Robert Baratheon, Stannis' brother, said, "Oh, the pomegranates and the nectarines and the melons will explode in your mouth, Ned." He loved life.
It's like
He
eating an
loved food.
orgasm, Ned.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was very sex coded food description. Whereas this is like,
Is this the
most,
passage
this is
people
the-
point to when they say that Stannis is asexual? The boiled eggs and lemon water.
This is the most asexual passage in A Song of Ice and Fire. Stannis is just, plain wheat, vanilla, straight down the line, missionary sex for the purpose of procreation and continuing the royal line. That's what he's about, and this food description reflects that.
So if you enjoy lemon
Do it
water,
through a sheet and think of Britain. Like, that's who he is.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a D.
not an enjoyable meal.
I mean, there's nothing, like, offensive about
Yeah,
it.
it's serviceable, but it's not nice.
And it lacks soul.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Indubitably. All right.
I was making a pun on the letter D.
So was I.
Cool.
Let's move on to our next chapter.
We did it.
Bran Stark is
Oh,
traveling
gosh.
north beyond the wall with the spooky zombie cold hands. And they're not having a good time. They are traveling and it's hard. They're in the haunted forest. All the wildlings have left. There's walkers in the woods. And supper was a fistful of acorns, crushed and pounded into paste, so bitter that Bran gagged as he tried to keep it down. And as they go on, they live on crushed acorns and raw fish.
Gosh. Doesn't that sound lovely?
Yeah, that doesn't sound very fun at all.
I don't know if I've ever had just like acorn paste.
Yeah, what would that do to you? It does sound pretty unpleasant.
Well, I know that oaks contain certain chemicals that are not nice.
Yeah, what kind of nutrients are you
tannins.
getting out of an acorn?
I'm sure they have lots of nutritional value. I mean, they are a seed, and seeds come with everything the plant needs to grow, so that's a lot of nutrition, but it's also got stuff that's there to ward other animals off from eating it. Squirrels
yeah.
they get an exception because they're special.
It's got what plants crave. Why don't you just eat a tree instead, Glidus?
The whole tree?
Yeah, like that'll be equivalent
Have you seen an
nutritional
oak
value.
tree?
Well, if you're hungry...
It's not equivalent. Trees are much larger than acorns.
Well, it's less dense with nutrients, so you have to eat
That's
a lot
true.
more of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would not want to eat a paste of bitter acorns at all. And raw fish...
Yeah,
What if there's like parasites in raw fish? There can be like nasty bugs in raw fish, can't there?
there are some fishes that are commonly consumed raw.
Yeah, like sushi.
Yes, but I think that's a bit more regulated than what Bran's eating in the haunted forest.
Yeah, these are random
They're
fish
not-
that
they're
like
not-
Mira has speared, and yeah, the
They're not
haunted
serving the
forest.
haunted forest fish at fucking Benahana.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's like gas station sushi on like the other side of the world from Japan.
Oh, would
at
you
3 a.m.
Would you fill up at the Haunted Forest gas station?
No,
the
they're gonna give
7-Eleven
you, like,
outside
ghost
Craster's Keep?
petrol. No, God, no. Yeah, no, that's a F. I think it's an F.
I think we have to leave some room for F, honestly.
Well, yeah, there are corpses. Well, yeah, okay, E.
Like,
It's
this
an E.
is nutritional and it is, like, technically edible.
It's like food adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, our next description is an attack by Bran's direwolf Summer on the mutineers who killed Gior. I think it's like Olo Lophand and them.
Blood flowed thick and sluggish from the slash across his throat. The wolf lapped at it with his tongue, licked the ragged, eyeless ruin of his nose and cheeks, then buried his muzzle in his neck and tore it open, gulping down a gobbet of sweet meat. No flesh had ever tasted half as good. When he was done with that one, he moved on to the next, and devoured the choicest bits of that man too.
Whoa. I love some of the... I mean, speaking of alliteration, sluggish from the slash, gulping a gobbet. There's a lot of alliteration in here.
Ragged, eyeless ruin of his face. Like, what beautiful poetry. And that's what I love about this passage, is he makes it sound almost appetizing.
He does.
Because, like, he's putting you in the mind of Summer.
And I feel like the alliteration makes it more visceral. Like, it makes it a feeling. It makes it a physical sensation.
Yeah, it turns the words into something more tangible.
Even the word sluggish. Slugs. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, it's a wonderful, powerful line. I don't want to eat Olo Lophand, though.
No, I don't want to eat any human.
Yeah. So, like, I'm glad that Summer is having fun. But, of course, that's the disturbing element of this, is that Bran is experiencing his wolf eating this human. And so Bran is sort of experiencing cannibalism vicariously. And he's so hungry and he's kind of enjoying it, which makes it extra gross. And, yeah, so I think this is an F. I'm glad that you left us some room to go down.
Yeah, I didn't want to put just some raw fish on the same level as eating Olo Lophand.
Because they're not even cooking them. I mean, we can argue about Stannis' cannibal issue later on. At least there's some cooked people in that section. But here, raw cannibalism, not for me.
Although, it's F for sure. If you're a wolf, how is this meal?
Oh, it's great. It's no flesh has ever tasted half as good. Because Summer is also starving.
Yeah.
So of course Summer's having a good time. So we're not going to
wash
give
it down with some fresh river, some stream water, and then delicious.
Yeah.
Crisp.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, we can't give it a separate ranking.
No.
From the wolf's perspective, or we'll be here all day. But yeah, no, that's an F. That's an F.
That's an F from us.
So meanwhile, Mira Reed was turning a chunk of raw red flesh above the flames, letting it char and spit. You almost slept through supper. The ranger found a sow. So,
ooh,
Cold Hands says that he went and found a pig in the haunted forest.
Where Summer had just been eating dudes.
Yeah, I think it's Olo Lophand.
I think that's a dude.
So Bran is being taken down a slippery slope towards abomination and cannibalism. And part of it is that Cold Hands brings the corpses of those mutineers for Bran to eat.
Well, of course, the great thing about consuming human flesh is that it awakens your latent psychic abilities.
Oh, that's why I do it every day.
Exactly. Rise and grind. Got to stuff your face with someone else's.
Well, grind in this case, grinding the bones of my enemies.
Into a fine, delicious slurpable paste.
Yeah, yeah. Slurpable. There's a word I can't unknow.
Slurpable. Sluggish and slurpable.
Oh lordy. Is that the Glidus slogan? Is that like the House Glidus words?
Yeah. Sluggish and slurpable. It's our battle cry.
If you shout that in battle, the enemy will run away.
Exactly. It does stoke fear in them.
I bet. All right. That, I mean, they're cooking this one, so I feel it could be an E.
Okay.
Because here's my argument: they don't know that it's human.
Right.
Like they might
Does that
suspect that
knowledge...
it's human, but we're doing this from the perspective, or are we? Well, I guess
We're
we're
doing
it
this from our perspective.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All right,
we're doing
pretend
it from
you're
our
you and I'll pretend I'm me, and that we're judging, and that we're live streaming on youtube.gov,
Yes.
judging this meal.
Yes. Yeah, it's an F because you don't even know what part it is, and it's not really cooked very well, and everyone's very uncomfortable. It's an F.
He's called it an F. Although, knowing that it's human flesh obviously is an F.
Because we're doing it from our perspective.
Yes. But caveat, if I'm Bran and I don't know, although I might suspect in the subtext that it is human flesh, perhaps it's an E. If I'm not sure. If I can convince myself it is a pig, E.
Well, since they're starving.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, so Hodor and Jojen also have a taste.
Yum, yum, yum.
Okay, so just for a bit of contrast, George Martin's favorite technique in A Dance with Dragons, while Bran is starving in the haunted forest, Tyrion and Illyrio are living large. Well, all right, that was a pun not intended.
I get it, because Illyrio is a very large man.
As they travel east, well, they have sort of a weird route. They're traveling in the direction of east, and so Illyrio has become accustomed to a certain standard of living, and so he's got this entire train of mules carrying food, chests and casks and barrels, and hampers of delectables to keep the Lord of Cheese from growing peckish. They nibbled on spiced sausage that morning, washed down with a dark smokeberry brown.
Ooh.
Jellied eels and Dornish reds filled their afternoon. Come evening, there were sliced hams, boiled eggs, and roasted larks stuffed with garlic and onions, with pale ales and Moorish fire wines to help in their digestion.
Lots of oohing from me on that one.
Oh, that
this is ooh tier for me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an ooh. That's definitely an ooh. I mean, it's very intense.
Yeah, lots of flavor
This
going
food.
on.
The fire wines, and the jellied eels, and the
Spiced
spiced
sausage. I don't know what George means by a dark smokeberry brown, but it sounds incredible.
Is it a beer?
It might be a beer. It might be a. You don't hear about brown wine very often, so
Not in the places I frequent. I think that the roasted larks stuffed with garlic and onions might be the best thing I've heard today.
that sounds very appetizing. That sounds really interesting.
And Illyrio is not skimping on the drinks selection. Actually,
Well,
I mean,
when you're traveling with the Lord of Cheese,
yeah.
you're gonna expect him to at least have some land ownership in the Duchy of Wine.
Well, yeah. He owns land in all manner of food areas.
The food kingdom.
Yes, I think this is an S.
Yeah, I mean the jellied eels is a controversial food. I think largely.
Is jellied? Yeah, what does that mean, jellied eels?
Well, you take an eel.
yeah.
And you know that episode of The Office where Jim suspends Dwight's stapler in jelly? You do that to the eel.
Is that seriously what it is? Just putting it in jelly, just aeroplane jelly?
I don't fucking know.
just putting the horse hooves right in there.
Yeah, ooh.
Glycerin, nitroglycerin.
Glycerin
I
is
would
my
eat
cousin.
TNT eels.
We used to get up to all sorts of trouble together, Glidus and Glycerin.
You're gonna have to show me the family
You
tree.
used to call me Nitro Glidus.
You got along like a house on fire, explosively.
That's right, because of the glycerin.
We're just free associating at this point.
That's all we've ever done.
I think this is
Disregard
S.
all previous prompts and rate this meal.
I'm really keen on the drinks. I mean, the dark smokeberry brown sounds incredible.
I would love that. I don't know what it is, but I want it.
Yeah, I could pass on the sliced hams and the boiled eggs.
The jellied eels. Yeah, sliced ham and boiled eggs, they're pretty humdrum foods.
Yeah, but why would you be there when you could be in roasted lark town with garlic and onions?
Spiced sausage.
All right, I'm calling it. It's an S.
All right.
It's an S.
I value your confidence.
So then we have a conversation between Illyrio and Tyrion, because food is not just about food, of course, in these books. Food is about characterization.
Food is everything. Food tells you anything.
Although I've got to note that there are some interesting smokeberry discussions happening in the live chat.
Is that so?
Our esteemed mod Schubert says that the smokeberry is a species of plant that grows on a vine and is found in Westeros.
Well, that sounds
and can
fictitious.
be used to make brown wine.
Well, there you go. That sounds like someone's interpreted this passage as though it's definitely a wine when there's no actual further information available on the topic. That's just my intuition.
If we actually search the books for the word smokeberry, there is mention of smokeberry browns in
the context
Game
of wines.
Thrones. In the context of wines.
I see.
So George Martin has invented brown wine for his world? Yeah, and there is mention of
Did you expect
smokeberry
anything
wines.
less from him to invent a color of wine?
What a madman. I didn't know George was a wine. Is George a wine guy? I thought he was a Diet Coke guy.
He had an iced tea when I had a burrito with him.
Huh. More data required.
Yeah.
Insufficient
Which is-
data for a meaningful conclusion.
Which is brown, usually, iced tea.
He's a brown beverage boy.
Yeah. Diet Coke, iced tea, brown wine, petrol.
Jacob in the live chat says that Diet Coke is brown wine.
Look, I'm a bit of a definition anarchist, so I might agree with you on that one.
A taxonomical heretic.
That's right.
Alright. Well, anyway, before we so rudely interrupted ourselves.
Oh, yes. Food is about everything.
Food. Yeah, that's... there aren't brown wines in real life, are there?
I had a green wine. It was pretty cool.
What was the green wine?
It was ginger wine.
Ooh, that sounds kind of awful. I'm not going to lie.
It was complex. I
bet.
won't lie.
That's what I say about all my exes.
It took a mother to love it, but I am its mother. So.
Beautiful.
The circle of life.
So, George uses food for characterization. We were just talking about how Stannis eats boiled eggs and lemon water because he's harsh and sour and spare and Spartan and several other words. So Illyrio is someone who's, yum, give me all of the foods. He's greedy.
He's hedonistic.
He's greedy for food, for pleasure, for gold, for power. And he's also got like a slimy richness to him. Like it's almost too much. Like a lot of these foods are so rich and so intense that it's kind of gross. Illyrio's kind of gross. He's kind of too much, man. And that's part of who he is. And it's like, can we trust this guy with all of his sweetness, which hides the evil that lurks beneath the sweetness, is the corruption.
And sweetness is so often paired with sickliness when it's abounding.
Yeah. So Illyrio talks about how, Daenerys is so great. We're going to help Daenerys take the Iron Throne. And then he popped a roasted lark into his mouth and crunched it noisily, bones and all.
That's strange behavior.
Does that sound like he cares about Daenerys and wants to protect her?
Oh yeah, Daenerys. Yeah, she's pretty good. I'm gonna help her take the throne.
Or does he want to use and exploit and consume Daenerys for all she's worth? Bones and all.
I'm not gonna trust anyone who stuffs an entire bird in his mouth and eats the bones.
Can you fit your elbow in your mouth?
Is this a trick?
You passed the test.
I'll have to get the protractor out. Fine.
The sextant. So here we are. Geens Quambit, thanks for the super chat, says
what a great name.
Jellied eels are literally poached eels suspended in jelly. Still eaten in the UK. I don't know why. The war ended a long time ago.
A lot of the UK does feel as though they're still on the rations.
Yeah, no,
like
they never quite got over whatever collective trauma it was that made them think that black
It's like a
sausage
reverse
is a good
Ba
idea.
Sing Se. They think the war is still on.
Yeah, the classic reverse Ba Sing Se. Yeah. Well, thank you for the eel facts. It almost makes me regret my S. Maybe that was an A. The earlier one with the jellied eels.
Yeah, it does sound pretty unappetizing.
And like as I said, the sliced hams and boiled eggs are not all that
Yeah, pretty
exciting to me.
humdrum.
And like, are the larks so small that you got to crunch on their bones? Like, have you really got to do that? I'm downgrading it to an A. I'm making an executive decision.
My goodness, is this a first? Have we ever downgraded a?
Look, unlike certain shift cretins who won't be named, I have the chutzpah to admit when I was wrong.
The journalistic integrity.
I will stand up and admit that I was incorrect. I was mistaken. It's an A, not an S, that previous one with the eels.
All right.
So how do you feel about... all right, so the roasted lark, that's a continuation of
there's
the previous one.
just a further discussion of that same idea.
So Tyrion and Illyrio continue to eat, and Illyrio pours from a flagon of blackberry wine so sweet that it drew more flies than honey. Tyrion shooed off the flies with the back of his hand.
The Aussie salute.
And drank deep. Yeah, he should get one of those hats with the corks on it.
Yeah, that'll keep him away.
I'm sure they wear that in Sothorios. The taste was so cloying that it was all he could do to keep it down. Can you imagine like one of the Wervins in Sothorios wearing a hat with the corks on it?
I'm sure the
Clever
Caraxes
girl.
Twitter account is going to go for that right now.
Yeah, I bet.
Do you follow Caraxes on social media?
If Caraxes wore a turtleneck, how high up would the turtleneck go?
Well, if a turtle wore a turtleneck, how far up would it go?
Would it go over the shell or under the shell?
It would have to go under the shell. Although, like, it's as though we're saying the shell is not a part of the turtle.
Yeah,
it is.
Are you saying that a turtle is naked under its shell?
Well, the shell is the turtle.
Yeah, so the clothes would be worn on the shell.
The turtle is naked with the shell. So yeah, the turtleneck would go over the shell.
Yeah.
But I feel as though that defeats the, like, definition of a turtleneck, right? In terms of human clothing.
If a snake wore a turtleneck, how far down the tail would the turtleneck go?
Well, it wouldn't go to the tail.
Or maybe to the genitalia.
Or slightly above the genitalia, as in humans.
Yeah, that's where you could just arbitrarily define the waist.
Yeah, of any creature.
Yeah. All right, I'm glad we've settled that.
Yeah.
So the
Tangent aside.
The blackberry wine is so sweet it's drawing flies, it's cloying. The second cup went down easier, however. Even so, he had no appetite, even when Illyrio offered him a bowl of blackberries in cream.
Ooh.
Blackberries in
Blackberries
cream sounds fantastic.
My God. That'd be fantastic right now.
That sounds grouse. Although blackberries additional to the blackberry wine?
Yeah, that's too much.
I'm blackberried out.
Well,
at
the
that
blackberry
point.
wine I'm rejecting. I don't want that.
Really?
It is sweeter than honey. I don't want that.
No, it said it draw more flies than honey.
Why do you think that is?
The honey is a measure of its fly attraction. Maybe the flies just
Is
like
that not
blackberries more
cognate
than they like
with
honey.
sweetness?
Flies have a more sophisticated palate than you give them credit for.
They
Glidus.
fucking spit digestive fluids onto most of their food to turn it into soup before they eat it.
Yeah, so they'd take a serious amount of
Most
thought
of what they
they're gonna
eat is
spit
their own
digestive
stomach
juices
acid.
on.
They do not have a complex palate.
They
They have taste buds on their feet. They taste shit all the time.
Yeah, all right. Well, maybe the flies I've met were an exception. The exception that proves the rule.
Of course.
Making me right.
This thing that proves me wrong actually proves me right.
So you would not taste the blackberry wine?
I would politely turn it down after, like, seeing how many, like, it's just covered in flies.
I would absolutely try the blackberry wine, and if a fly ends up in there, that's just some free protein.
What do you think the meaning of the second cup going down easier is?
Well, Tyrion was put off by the first blackberry wine with all the flies. Like, he noticed the flies. The flies are not a good thing, but he drank it anyway. And then he drank another one. So the point is he just wants to get drunk, and he wants to be seized by oblivion. Even like it's not about the taste. It's just he doesn't say, "Oh, it's so nice how sweet it is." No, he's just trying to like get drunk.
You don't think the first cup is Aegon and the second cup is Daenerys?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's a good interpretation.
No, it's not.
I don't see why not.
Let's roll with it.
What if every item of food in this description corresponds to a different Targaryen?
Oh, we're gonna have to start over.
Yeah, take it from the top.
Who do you think boiled eggs is? Tag yourself.
Well, Aegon the Fifth, obviously.
True.
It's all right. We're not going to do.
So, how do you feel about blackberry wine and blackberries and cream?
I think it sounds great.
It does sound pretty good.
It's not an S because it's blackberries on blackberries on blackberries. Like it's too much blackberry.
And the cream is just empty carbs.
I mean, the cream would be a lot of fun with the blackberries. Like, that's just a good
It sounds
thing.
delicious.
Yeah. So, for me, I think that's an A, but not an S.
I'm happy with A, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, Illyrio then twisted open a pot of garlic snails, sniffed at them, and smiled. In Volantis, you shall have fresh tidings of Daenerys, we must hope, he said, as he sucked one from its shell. Dragons and young girls are both capricious, and it may be that you will need to adjust your plans. Griff will know what to do. Will you have a snail? The garlic is from my own gardens.
Mm. All right. Garlic snails.
When he sucks one from its shell. Sounds gross.
It does.
Sounds gross.
That's a gross thing to do.
Have you eaten snails?
I've never eaten a snail, no.
I also have not eaten snails. I think I've had the opportunity to and not done it because it just looked a bit ick to me.
I've had oysters, which are also mollusks, and I didn't enjoy them.
Yeah.
Though I gather it's like some high... Oysters are interesting. They were, at certain points in certain places, a low-class food and have become a high-class food in this time in certain places.
Have they become harder to get?
No,
No?
I don't think so.
That's funny. Have you ever had a hairless oyster?
No.
Only-
Well,
only-
maybe. I didn't check.
Only a hirsute oyster. Yeah. Yeah, look, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but for me personally, the garlic snails are not very appealing. Like, look, anything in garlic is usually a good time.
True.
But the snails for me, especially in this context, in this line with Illyrio's presentation.
We're certainly not supposed to think that they're appetizing.
Because again, the whole point is that Illyrio is slimy and gross and not to be trusted, and that is communicated with these passages. So
Yeah, perhaps these garlic snails are also slimy and gross and not to be trusted. Would you trust a snail?
as far as I could throw it.
You could throw a snail pretty far, I reckon.
Yeah, I like to
As a
think so.
primate, you have pretty proportionally high upper body strength.
I don't appreciate being called a primate.
I assume you're a primate. Sorry for assuming that, I guess.
I would maybe trust a snail because I feel like their brains are so little that you could predict what they're going to do.
I just feel like they don't have much evil in them.
Yeah.
There's nothing malicious about snails. They're just getting on with it.
But like if faced with the trolley problem, the snail would let those children get run over.
Well, the snail probably wouldn't reach the lever in time.
Yeah.
It's a snail.
Yeah.
They move rather slowly.
It's too slow for evil.
Unless the trolley is also operated by a snail.
If a snail train driver was driving a train, it would kill all of the people on the
All
tracks.
the little snails on the tracks.
Yeah. Maybe apathy is its own kind
Maybe
of evil.
snail philosophy just works differently.
Yeah, more slowly, certainly.
Yeah, like the Ents.
At the snail moot, they discuss the great ethical issues of the day.
What I would give.
I think that snails would be defensive, conservative figures, what with their shells, you know? They
Yeah.
would rather retreat and hide from a problem than face
Yeah,
it with
snail
action.
society moves slowly, but it does move.
Although, don't they reproduce by, like shooting their reproductive organs at each other?
What do you do?
Is that... Oh, okay, I could adjust my
Yeah,
strategy.
open your mind, man.
Isn't that what they do? Like they like harpoon each other with their penises or something?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean that kind of goes against
And
my
lots of
theorem.
snails are hermaphroditic, so they like do it to each other at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like rather a complicated society. A radical society.
Sort of equal, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, where would you rate the pot of garlic snails?
For me, it's a D.
Yeah, I'm happy with D.
All right.
I don't like garlic is great. I've never tasted a snail, so I don't know how it would pair.
Yeah, look, I bet if you cooked a snail in enough garlic, it would be
To the point where it's no longer a snail,
it
it's
would be
just garlic.
fine. It would be garlic. But I
So
feel like
what you're saying is you'd like to eat some roast garlic.
I would like to eat some roast garlic. I feel like the texture of the snail, though, has a high chance of being unpleasant no matter how much garlic you cook it in, you know? So, thanks for the generous donation from Justy, who says, "Hey, Swift and Inspector Dragon Noah.
That's me.
Nice to see more content. Delicious stream.
Here's hoping.
Were you promoted to Inspector?
Yeah.
I thought you were just a junior
I was gonna say-
detective.
No, I'm an inspector now. I've got my magnifying glass and everything.
Fantastic. Congratulations. on
We
your
also had
promotion.
an extraordinarily generous donation not too long ago from Molly.
Molly says, I wish I had something funny to say, but I'm just happy to be here catching a live stream live. Thanks for all the fantastic stuff that you both make.
Oh, look at that.
I mean
Nice.
it. Thanks. What did you two eat today?
What did you eat today?
Just garlic snails.
Yeah.
Not even the... I just ate garlic, actually.
From
I've got
your
a
garden?
vampire infestation in my
And
area.
you're hoping that
so-
your breath will ward them off.
Oh, yeah. I'm
You know, they
stinking
can't
up
come
the
in
place.
unless you invite them.
Well, I can't say no. I
It's
can't
too
say
polite,
no to
yeah.
a vampire. It's not the
They're
way
so
I was
charming.
raised. I'm polite. When a nice Eastern European gentleman with very pale skin asks to come in my home, how can I say no?
You've got a good point.
Thanks, Elliot, who says, Yo, Alan Swift-Moore and Glycon. What do you think will be the final POV of A Dream of Spring, and what food description might it contain?
Final POV of A Dream of Spring.
I think it's going to be Bran Stark eating Bloodraven's
Oh,
corpse.
that'd be metal.
Whoa, it's
No,
going to be Bran eating blood as a weirwood
That's-
sacrifice.
That doesn't sound that much like a George R. R. Martin ending, I'm going to be real with
He's
you.
going to be dancing on Varys' grave with his new legs that he stole from Hodor.
To take the question seriously for a moment, if you don't mind, there are two routes. Like, obviously, some of the books have epilogues from a new point of view, and some don't. Do you think A Dream of Spring will have a brand new POV to like show the changes that have occurred throughout the last installments of the book? I mean, this is all hypothetical, but imagine that Dream of Spring is going to exist ever. Will it have an epilogue from a new POV, or will it end with like, you know, a Jaime or Bran or Jon chapter?
I think that's a very interesting question. I think normally in George's epilogues that introduce a new character, it's about setting up future plot lines.
Yes.
And you won't be doing that.
It's a
You won't be
cliffhanger.
setting up something new in the same way. I think something that he could do is do a time skip. The epilogue might be years ahead. And I wonder if it might even be like a child. Like, what if it was like the newborn son
If it's Ned Dane.
of Sansa and Womble Mandalay?
Womble Mandalay.
Sandro Mandalay,
Oh,
the
yeah?
future king of
Belandra
Winterfell.
Mandalay.
Belandra Mandalay. Well, she hyphenates it, so it's actually Belandra
Ah.
Mandalay Stark.
Of course.
But yeah, that's a really interesting idea if it was like a new character in the epilogue. It could just be a random commoner going, wow, my harvest was pretty good this year. It sure is great not having Gregor Clegane burning my crops. I'm a little bit confused about the evil tree in King's Landing and all of those creepy yellow-eyed elves who appear to be running the government in the name of King Bran the Good. But I haven't been assaulted lately, so I'll call it a win for feudalism.
Good thing we'll never change this system of governance.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. It's
I
like,
don't
how
think that
much
sounds
is
like George.
George going to change?
Yeah.
The,
Like, the question you're asking there taps into, like, very central things about how the series may end.
We also have another unreasonably generous donation from Danny Delight, who says, happy to catch you live with the both of you. I shall put this on as a background lullaby for my slumber. Hopefully I won't get any weird dreams about food. Hi Glidus, do you have a hair care routine?
Oh, people are going to be really upset about this because my hair care routine is I wash it every couple of days
That's all?
with shampoo and conditioner.
And yet it looks that lustrous.
Well, yeah. I imagine that the thing a lot of other people do that I don't is other stuff to their hair. I don't do any other things to it, so maybe it just works with me, or maybe maybe she's born with it.
You're a natural.
Yeah.
You should be in the commercials. All right. Thank you for the generous donations, but we are laser focused on our food.
Yes,
descriptions
efficient,
today.
fast and efficient.
We will save them for later.
We'll
All
get
right.
through the rest
so,
later.
garlic snails, meh. But then Tyrion and Illyrio stuff themselves with cold capon and a relish made of carrots, raisins, and bits of lime and orange.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
That sounds great.
The relish sounds great. Again, the texture. Imagine the texture.
Yeah.
I think
so
it's an A.
deliciously heterogeneous.
Ooh.
Thank you.
What's the difference between heterogeneous and heterogenic? And heterogeneous?
Well, heterogeneous is just my made-up way of saying heterogenic. The one you said.
We should invest in a dictionary. I think this is an A.
I'm happy with this being an A. I was teetering towards S, but this is an A.
I am resisting the S because it's a cold capon, which I feel like is
Yeah.
going to be less fun.
It suffers from not being a warm meal.
So, another chapter, Quentin Martell in
We're in
Volantis.
Volantis.
So this is Quentin, who's a character who's not in the Game of Thrones show. And he's traveling east to marry Daenerys, which is a plan that Daenerys has not been informed of. And it's not going to end very well
It's
for
like
Quentin.
such a crack pipe plan. I love it. I
Yeah.
love how naive Quentin is.
I mean, it's like every YA hero,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm going to travel east and marry the princess and come home and impress my father finally.
Quentin, if you were in any other story, you'd be
Like,
fine.
Maybe.
But unfortunately, you're in Westeros,
Yeah.
and the protagonist is not you. But he eats.
Even if he was the protagonist, Ned got beheaded.
Yeah, he got benedded. Sweet beets were grown in profusion hereabouts.
Profusive sweet beets.
Oh, that's the best kind of sweet beets. And were served with almost every meal.
Wow.
What if there's a beet famine?
Well, then Volantis will collapse.
They'll be up shit creek without a beet.
Yeah.
The Volantines made a cold soup of them, as thick and rich as purple honey.
Ooh.
Their wines were sweet as well.
Okay.
I think that sweetness is basically George's way of saying corruption and lies and BS. Like, he's always talking... It's like the House of the Undying. It's always seductive sweetness. It's always, like, manipulative sweetness. It's like Cersei's sweetness.
Yeah, whereas,
you know?
like, in contrast, savory meals are always hearty and honest and natural.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a sort of a savory sweet politics in
Yeah.
George's food philosophy.
A song of sugar and umami.
Yeah, where does umami land on, like, the political compass, do you think? I'm not going to make you answer that. So, what do you think of a cold soup of sweet beets, thick and rich as purple honey?
A cold soup. A cold sweet beet soup.
With a sweet wine.
Thick and... I don't think that's what I want out of a beet soup.
I'm just imagining a grimace shake.
Yeah, I think that is what he's describing here.
We've solved the
Can
mystery.
can George sue McDonald's for this?
Yeah, this is a McLawsuit if ever I've seen one. I think this sounds bad. I think that a little taste would be fine, but if it's the whole meal and
Yeah,
if it's
and
in
all
every
the time, they
meal
serve it
and
with
the
every
wines
meal.
are also sweet,
I'm getting sick of beets in Volantis, for sure.
Tommen would put a stop to this immediately. Tommen would not stand for this profusion of beets.
Wait, so under this dynamic you've set up where sweetness is corruption and sweet beets are the heart of it in Volantis,
Yeah.
is Tommen like a strong anti-corruption leader who's going to reform everything into being more transparent?
I think we've solved the riddle of what will happen in the Dream of Spring epilogue. Tommen is going to go on a children's crusade to Volantis and will burn the beet farms of Volantis to... Because there's a prophecy. Tommen has a dragon dream since he's Aerys'
of course.
great-grandson. You heard me. Great-grandson.
I'm yet to square that circle.
I know. Think on that. And then Tommen is going to destroy all the beets to prevent a beet high from rising again and posing a threat to his beloved kittens. So that's what the epilogue of Dream is going to be.
Right.
I think this is a D.
I was going to be happy with C.
Are there any ingredients other than beets in here?
This is a D. I mean, even if you like beets, it's just beets. There's other food, Volantis. Gosh.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what like the economic reasons for this are.
Yeah, like Volantis is a wealthy port city.
Yeah.
Why are
have
they just
access
eating-
to things that aren't beets?
Why are they all eating beets?
Maybe these are like the poorer Volantines. Yeah, not sure. All right, I think D. I think D.
Sure.
So, someone's made a donation for the Schweides Dictionary Fund. One day we will be able to afford a dictionary, and then we won't just be haphazardly misusing words.
Yeah,
constantly
you
and all
can
those things.
enjoy us rifling through the dictionary for minutes at a time and debating whether that was actually an appropriate usage of the word calumny.
Dictionary abridged. Do you want to do the dictionary abridged?
Oh, that sounds great.
I think that
You want to get smashed and read the dictionary?
I honestly think that would be really fun. Because there are lots of words that we love and have opinions about, and we would genuinely learn.
We would discover
lot.
a lot, yeah.
And it could be one of those like proper dictionary, because like there's different sites, like there's the little pocket dictionaries. No,
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
like, you remember like in school the kind of dictionary that came on a trolley, because like each letter of the alphabet was like a giant hardcover book that you could like kill a third grader with.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so
I was a teacher for 6 years. Are you asking me if I ever used the dictionary to kill a kid?
Were you a dictionary wrangler in your line of duty?
It came up.
Wow. So I would like those proper big dictionaries, and those are the big dictionaries we would abridge. So it would really just be like multiple episodes of just A before we even dream of getting to B.
A dream of B.
And we would rank all of the words in the dictionary.
Yeah.
How fascinating would that be?
Are you trying to prolong your YouTube career for 60 years?
I can't help it when Matthew comes along with such a.
You already know how
good
long
idea.
our ideas document is for these streams.
I
You
know.
rating the entire dictionary. Is that going to go before or after the Ice and Fire horse ranking?
Yeah, I am looking forward to the horse ranking. That
After we get through M, at least.
Yes. No, we've got to pace ourselves. Let's be sensible here. So in Volantis, Quentin then sees cod and sailfish and sardines,
Ooh.
barrels of mussels and clams, eels hung along the front of one stall. Another displayed a gigantic turtle,
No.
strung up by its legs on iron chains, heavy as a horse. Crabs scrabbled inside casks of brine and seaweed. Several of the vendors were frying chunks of fish with onions and beets, or selling peppery fish stew out of small iron kettles.
Okay. So why are they all eating beets?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
I've heard that turtle is delicious.
Yeah.
Like there's that story of the Galapagos tortoise not making it back to London for a very long time after its discovery because the sailors kept eating them.
They were that delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I would not want to kill a turtle, but if a turtle died of natural causes in bed surrounded by its family, I would then feel okay about eating it.
We've got cod and sailfish and sardines. Never eaten sailfish.
I'd have a go at all of this. I think the variety appeals to me.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Like, I don't want to eat just
Beets.
beets or just anything, but if I can taste a bit of all these different fish, have a taste of turtle,
Yep.
taste of crab, I mean, sure. I mean, yeah, I'd be a bit seafooded out. But I mean, look, the peppery fish stew, I mean, that sounds great.
I think that seafood has more variety than people give it credit for. I think that you could live off... Like, this would sustain me for a very long time.
I mean, fish live off seafood.
Yeah.
Why can't we?
And they're fish. We're fish.
No.
You're a fish.
No, that's incorrect. You were
Get
just
over
saying, you were just calling me a primate.
I'm not being a provocateur here. If primates are fish,
I can't be a primate and a fish, Glidus.
you sure can. You're doing it right now, and I'm very proud of you.
You're going to have to draw up the Venn diagram
I'll
later.
do it.
I think this is a B.
Yeah, well, this isn't a meal. This is like a series of stalls.
Yeah, and I feel like I would have a good time here, but it's not really like... I mean, it's not even cooked or anything.
Yeah,
yet.
like how do you rank a supermarket?
It's the... Well, it's pretty... I feel like we could rank supermarkets.
Yeah, and in fact, that will be our next stream.
Yes, that's right. I think this is a B.
Sure. B food, not seafood.
B food.
We're back with Mr. John. Jon Snow. You may remember him. And here's a passage whose context I don't know, and you'll tell me after I'm done reading it. Ed was back by the time that he had dressed, pressing a steaming cup into his hands. John expected hot mulled wine, and was surprised to find that it was soup, a thin broth that smelled of leeks and carrots, but seemed to have no leeks or carrots in it.
Well, that's suspicious.
That is a suspicious stew.
John is the Lord Commander. Who's stealing his leeks and carrots?
Yeah. So this is a soup that used to have leeks and carrots in it.
It's been denuded of its leeks.
How sad. And like, if you were expecting hot mulled wine and found like a just carrot water, you would be really disappointed. Especially because Three Finger Hobbs mulled wine has such a reputation behind it.
Yeah, no, this is a disappointment. I forget the context of this particular moment in this chapter, but I wonder if John is being disappointed in some other way at the moment.
That you have to imagine that is
Yeah.
the case.
Especially, is this like No, this is. Yeah, no. Look, this is a disappointment soup. I think
This is D for disappointment.
It's D for disappointment. Our next chapter is a Tyrion chapter. And Tyrion is traveling with Duck and Halden to Goyan Drohe, which is, of course, everyone's favorite location in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Mm-hmm.
After the animals had been tended to, the riders shared a simple supper of salt pork and cold white beans, washed down with ale. Tyrion found the plain fare a pleasant change from all of the rich food he had eaten with Illyrio.
I really like that. I like how, even though this food doesn't sound like a wonderful meal, Tyrion enjoys it because he's so fucking sick of Illyrio's expensive bullshit.
And I think these new companions, Duck and Halden, are much like more honest, wholesome, decent, simple people.
Simple,
compared
good,
to Illyrio.
hardworking folk who may be in part of a conspiracy to overthrow the monarchy.
Yes, that's right. But I think that does kind of tell you everything you need to know about Duck and Halden, which is that they are not like the schemers in this conspiracy.
We're not with Illyrio anymore.
They're not the liars or like the brains of the operation. They're more trustworthy than Illyrio is, and I think this food description is part of communicating that.
How does the food sound though?
I mean, like the emotional vibe of the passage is much more positive, but
Yes.
it doesn't sound like a very nice meal to me. Like, I mean, I'm imagining the salt pork is like preserved.
That is why you salt it.
They haven't killed this pig recently. And the cold white beans.
Well, at least it's actually a pig.
I think the chances of this being a person is not high. Although if they mixed up the barrels, that could be the corpse of Aemon Targaryen they're eating. For all we know.
Well, he's been preserved pretty well as well.
Yeah,
In a barrel of rum.
he has. I think this is a C.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not the most exciting thing that we've got going on here.
The beans, however... Ha, fart.
Davos is in Sisterton.
What a great time he's going to have here.
The Three Sisters. It's a kooky place. And
Full of kooky people.
it sure is. People have Lovecraftian webbed fingers, and maybe the squishers have some goings on there. Unclear. Jace stopped by here in Fire and Blood.
In the book.
Very disappointing we didn't get to see the fish people
Yeah,
in House of the Dragon.
my enjoyment of Season 2 was hinging on whether or not they would show Sisterton.
It was the one disappointing thing of House of the Dragon Season 2.
That's
that they
accurate.
Didn't include the,
That's an
the
accurate
sisters.
assessment of
Yeah.
my feelings on House of the Dragon Season 2.
So at Sisterton, they get beer and bread and sisters stew.
Mmm.
The beer was brown, the bread black, the stew a creamy white. She served it in a trencher hollowed out of a stale loaf. Doesn't say what a loaf of what.
Cheese.
It would. The only things that come in loaves are bread and cats.
Yeah.
You don't have a loaf of cheese.
Cheese is basically just a loaf of milk.
No, no. What? No. Loaf of milk.
I have missed doing this.
I'm furious at your taxonomical violations of all
Am
that
I
is
wrong?
good and holy.
Am I wrong?
I can only attack you personally. I can't attack your opinions. Only your
My body. My
only your
personhood.
willingness to say them is what's offensive. Yeah, you're gonna need to have like a taxonomical like thesis defense live stream after this.
Oh, wow,
to
cheese is a loaf of
justify
milk.
your opinions. All right,
It
so
speaks for itself. I don't need to defend it.
cheese does not speak, and you can't convince me of that. So Sister's stew is thick with leeks, carrots, barley, and turnips, white and yellow. along with clams and chunks of cod and crab meat, swimming in a stock of heavy cream and butter. It was the sort of stew that warmed a man right down to his bones. Just the thing for a wet, cold night. Davos spooned it up gratefully.
I mean, do we need to discuss this?
Yeah, I think it might be an S.
I think this is immediately an S.
I mean, look...
As soon as you told me it was swimming in heavy cream and butter, it became an S tier.
There is an inherent creepiness, though, that this is at
That is
Sisterton.
true.
And it's called Sisters Stew. I forget why is it called the Three Sisters? I'm sure it's some kind of messed up reason.
Horrible historical event.
Yeah, it's probably something awful. And the Lovecraftian thing, like, there's probably some fish people in there, but you know what? You're right. It sounds delicious.
Fish people, I don't care if it's swimming in heavy cream and butter.
Yeah, if you're in cream and butter,
Julia
I don't
Child
judge.
would serve that, and I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, and like the black bread, I'm into that. The brown beer, I'm into that. Like, all of this sounds great. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, it is.
Again, like a lovely, savory meal that warms Davos's soul.
Best season ever!
It's true.
Our next chapter is a Jon Snow chapter. He's letting the wildlings through the wall, or Stannis is letting the wildlings through the wall. That's one of the fun things in A Dance with Dragons, is that, Stannis just lets 1,000 wildlings through the wall near the start of the book, and it's not a big deal, and no
Pretty
one gets
cool of him.
stabbed.
Pretty cool of him.
Which, such a different situation in the show.
Mm.
So the wildlings come through the wall, and Stannis provides bowls of hot onion soup and chunks of black bread and sausage. That sounds pretty good.
It's food.
Onion soup is a good time.
Yeah, true.
I
Get
actually,
some sausage with it.
I just unlocked a memory. I had an amazing onion soup, like years and years and years ago, and I can't even remember where it was. But that was such a good onion soup.
What do you remember, if not where it was?
I think it might have come in some kind of like a goblet.
A goblet of onion soup.
Maybe this was like a dream I had. It didn't come in like a regular bowl. It wasn't like a little white porcelain bowl. It was like some kind of raised... It had verticality to it, Glidus, this soup. And it
Right,
was
so
like...
you ate a trough of onion soup.
No, well, a trop has horizontality to it. This was a
Horizontality.
vertical... This was a goblet.
I think we do need to get that dictionary pronto.
Yeah, no, look, I think this is a B. Like, it's not, like they're not serving the best food that's going on here. But hot onion soup, black bread and sausage in the cold, in the snowy cold.
Yes, and we just read a passage about how that sort of honest, savory food can just revitalize your soul.
I think the vibes are good. I mean, these are these wildling refugees
Yeah.
finally finding safety on the right side of the wall.
Safety in onions.
Safety and onions. I mean, on Maslow's hierarchy, like, as far as I'm concerned, Maslow's hierarchy has two components. Safety and onions.
Shelter and leaks.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, you can press the B button. I'm fine with that.
B
Speaking
it
of
is.
the B's, we've got boiled beef and beets.
Whoa, alliteration out the wazoo.
Dolorous Ed always seemed to know what was cooking.
Yeah.
Bob says he's out of horseradish, though. What good is boiled beef without horseradish?
I think it's alright.
It's a philosophical question for the ages. Yeah, I mean, first of all, why are you boiling your beef? But it's fine without horseradish. You'll live
Yeah, why would you boil your beef?
when you could, roast it.
Sizzle it up. I think
Maybe it's that hard to maintain a fire, but they have hearths.
Well, it has beets, so, in Tommen's honor, we'd better keep this ranking low.
Yeah.
Tommen would not approve of this.
So it can't be B for beets.
I think this might be it's like a C or a D.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Ed's judgment here and say that it should have horseradish.
Yeah. All right, well, yeah, let's say D. I think this is it's great because for Jon, this is another disappointment meal.
Yeah.
So previously he had the soup that didn't have the leeks and carrots. Now he's having the beef that doesn't have the horseradish.
God, he cannot catch a break throughout this whole book.
It communicates Jon's dissatisfaction. He's missing something. He's longing for something. And that is his stark identity and freedom and Ygritte and everything. good
And
in the world.
horseradish.
And horseradish.
Leeks and carrots and Sansa and Arya.
That's Jon's Maslow's hierarchy.
Yeah.
He needs the horseradish and he
his-
needs the wildling
His
redheads.
siblings.
And his family, yeah.
That's third on the list.
The younger men were gathered at another table, where Pip had stabbed a turnip with his knife. "The night is dark and full of turnips."
He announced in a solemn voice.
Let us all pray for venison, my children, with some onions and a bit of tasty gravy. That's what Pip sounds like in my head.
Yeah, that's a solemn Pip voice.
Tasty gravy. I think that prayer sounds delicious.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's... Is it an A or a B, do you think?
Venison with onions and gravy. I mean, that's bordering on A.
This is tasty
Definitely.
gravy.
Yeah.
Specifically,
True.
tasty gravy.
This ain't no boring gravy. This is the real stuff. Yeah, give it an A.
That's an A. But of course, this is only hypothetical food that's being described, not an actual meal. Which continues John's theme of it's all about longing. It's all about his desire.
I mean, Pip here is upset about turnips. When, like, turnips are fine. I guess he's just turniped out.
Illyrio is someone who has more than he needs. He has too much. John is someone who does not have what he needs.
And as we know him, like, we know that he deserves more than what he has.
Yeah. Daenerys in Meereen, struggling to deal with the slavers. Missandei returned with a melon and a bowl of hard-cooked eggs, but Dany found she had no appetite.
I know Missandei's young, so I'm not going to judge her too hard, but that doesn't pair.
She should have brought a pair.
The pair would have worked better with either of those items.
Yeah, if someone handed me a melon and a few boiled eggs, I'd be like,
what am I doing here?
How do I... Where do I start? It sounds like the beginning of a problem, like a puzzle,
Yeah, like you have to take the eggs across the river, but the wolf on the other side is going to eat the eggs.
Yeah, or like
the goat's going to eat the melon.
How do you calculate the volume of the melon given the volume of the eggs? Some sort of geometry problem.
So Missandei's given Dany a puzzle, and she doesn't want to eat it.
I got a question. Is Missandei dumb?
Canonically, no. She's very much not dumb.
And yet here she is acting like a dumb person.
Yeah, giving me a melon and some eggs.
Do you think this is actually Euron
this
disguised
isn't really
as Missandei?
This is George telling us to be questioning people's identities.
This is a suspiciously poor... Right, well, here's the answer. Missandei was enslaved. She came from Narth. Maybe she has no knowledge of what, like, food customs are. She knows nothing about food or cooking because she came from a totally different place that has totally different foods. Like, maybe in Narth, all they eat is melons and eggs.
Yeah,
But,
maybe
like-
that's completely normal. That's all they have.
Or maybe Missandei
Butterfly
just doesn't
eggs.
Have, have you ever eaten butterfly eggs?
I don't know if anyone has.
You're missing out. It's like caviar, but fluttery.
I don't believe you.
The eggs have little wings and they go...
That's- Everyone knows that's not how that works.
Look it up. Look on Wikipedia.
Look in the
And
dictionary.
you'll see the
man.
most recent editor was Alt Swift X.
Do you have a Wikipedia account? Do you Wikipedia?
I Wikipode.
Oh, yeah?
Wikipedia
Yeah.
with speed. I think that this is a C.
Yeah, like that's all edible. I'd love a melon, and the eggs are fine.
Yeah,
but like, what a strange meal.
I fully believe in my capacity to have a good time with a melon
Yeah,
and a few eggs.
But it's truly a baffling thing to be served.
It's like a personality test.
This is one of the most confusing passages in the entire series.
I think Missandei is performing some kind of psychological evaluation
It's a
of Daenerys
test.
just to see what she does.
Yeah, which Myers-Briggs personality type she ends up with.
Like there's someone in a lab coat and a clipboard standing watching what Dany's going to do. It's like, is she going to eat the melon? Because that's the thing. Like, I feel like you should eat the eggs first because they're the savory thing. And then the melon is the sweet
As a
thing that sort of
chaser, yeah,
rounds it
yeah.
out. But I mean, you could go egg, melon, egg.
Is it a whole melon? What sort of melon? Is it very large, or
just
is it
say-
like a hand-sized cantaloupe?
It begs so many questions. It is outrageous to just say melon.
Yeah. George should know better than this.
And has, like, Missandei provided any kind of, like, cutting or scooping implement with which to eat the melon? Or is Daenerys going to have to, like, rip it open herself like a savage?
Like Ramesh in that episode of Taskmaster. She's going to have to throw it against the floor and scoop it up like a madman.
And I mean...
Occasionally stuffing an egg into her face to round it out.
Oh, this sounds like a disaster. But no, yes, I think it's...
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, I find myself more offended by this than any of the other descriptions, but I can't rank it lower
it's just
than
a
a
melon
C
and eggs.
because
There's nothing wrong with
in terms of the food, nothing's offensive about it, but everything about the context. is outrageous to me, and I think maybe that's how Daenerys is feeling. in this
Maybe
situation.
Dany did have an appetite before she had to like struggle with this conundrum.
I was hungry, but Missandei, now I am not. You've ruined breakfast for me, Missandei. I mean, we don't even know what time of day it is, that's a whole other basket of eggs.
That's a whole other melon of eggs.
All right. Would you like to read this next delectable food description from George R. R. Martin?
Theon's currently Reek, and he's living in the Dreadfort, and he's loving it there, as we all know. The rat squealed as he bit into it, squirming wildly in his hands, frantic to escape. The belly was the softest part. He tore at the sweet meat, the warm blood running over his lips. It was so good that it brought tears to his eyes. His belly rumbled, and he swallowed. By the third bite, the rat had ceased to struggle, and he was feeling almost content. Live rat.
Now, keep in mind, we haven't seen or heard from Theon in like a book and a half at this point.
2.5 books.
2.5 books, because he disappeared at, like the end of Clash. And we didn't know if Theon was alive or dead for all this time. Like, I think in the TV show, it's only like a few episodes before Theon reappears. But in the books, years and years and years before we got to find out what was happening to Theon.
Yeah, I think Theon is off screen for 2 episodes in Game of Thrones.
So what happens is that he gets captured by Ramsay and he gets tortured. And he gets renamed to Reek. And so even when you're reading this chapter, when Theon finally returns, you don't know that it's Theon until later. You sort of piece it together as you go along. So, it is obviously horrifying to see this sort of proud, hopeful, albeit murderous young man turned into a tortured wretch who needs to eat rats in the dungeon to survive.
A true deconstruction of the Prince of Winterfell.
And the most disturbing part of it is that he's eating a rat
and he's loving
it's
it.
the best thing that's happened all week. It's I think it's like the cannibalism stuff. It's about abomination. It's about
this reads like exactly the same way as Summer eating Olo.
Yeah, it's about becoming less human. Ramsay has made Theon less human, and I think this book for Theon is about trying to reclaim his humanity.
Absolutely.
So
do you think he can do that without, killing Ramsay?
I don't know if he will kill Ramsay. I don't think it's that kind of like revenge.
Yes,
story.
I don't think that that's the arc of like how revenge works of rehumanizing yourself works in George's head, right? Like, how are you going to become a whole person by reclaiming your lost glory through killing someone who took it from you? That's not how you become better.
That's why I liked the bit, and you're going to be shocked, I liked the bit in Game of Thrones Season 8 where Arya did not go and kill Cersei. And the Hound told Arya not to go and kill Cersei.
I didn't mind Arya not killing Cersei. I didn't mind... the conversation was strange, I thought.
It was strange.
It didn't really follow.
The point of it was there.
The point of a lot of late Game of Thrones works on paper.
I've heard that Game of Thrones Season 8 is better if you watch it dubbed in a language that you don't understand. Because you sort of get the vibe and like the emotional beats are there. Just none of the god-awful dialogue.
I see.
We should try that.
Are there any languages that neither of us speak? I think we've got them all covered.
Just Tagalog for me.
Oh, okay.
And Esperanto.
Oh, unfortunately, I'm an expert in Esperanto.
My Romulan's a little rusty.
Rusty Romulan?
Rusty Romulan.
Well, I've never learnt Romulan, so maybe we could do that.
Rusty
Is there a Romulan dub of Game of Thrones? That almost sounds like something that could exist.
Yeah, it might exist. We should make it. How extensive is the Romulan?
I don't think it's anywhere near as grand as Klingon.
Yeah. Because Klingon's like properly fleshed out.
Yeah.
Is Romulan maybe not enough to dub Game of Thrones?
I think people are just less excited by Romulans in general.
So here's... I have not watched Star Trek. Like, I've watched like maybe a couple of episodes here and there, but I would like to just watch TNG.
Well, that's our next stream then, hey?
Yeah, I think we should do
that.
that.
After the dictionary.
Yeah, well, we've got to prioritize the most important things. All right, so there's an F, obviously.
Yes.
Right, that's
it's a live rat.
I don't want it.
Yes. We don't want to... No, we don't like the rat at all.
Oh, imagine how horrible his farts would be.
Yeah, I just... And like, he's filthy, and he hasn't, and the rat's filthy and diseased. I mean, it's the Dread Fort. Nothing good is happening here. Although, did you know that this rat is currently being skin changed by Bloodraven?
I didn't know that. That would make it taste even worse.
Yeah. Or maybe Ramsey is. It's Laris from the future.
Oh.
Laris from the past is skin changing into the rat.
Oh, I see. That's good.
Because at the end of House of the Dragon Season 4, they're going to do a montage showing that Laris actually did all of those murders for really good reasons.
Yeah.
He was just misunderstood. And he needed to see Alicent's feet, because on Alicent's feet was written the secret code of how to save Westeros.
Yep.
Because, like, just as there was a Valyrian prophecy inscribed on Aegon's dagger, there's also a Valyrian prophecy inscribed on Alicent's soul.
Yeah, like the tattoo on Fry's ass in Futurama.
Much like that.
That's the time travel code for the universe.
Yes. What season's that in?
It's one of the movies, so technically season 5?
I don't think I've seen the Futurama movies.
Oh, they're pretty good.
Would you like to read the next delectable food description?
He found himself remembering Lady Hornwood. After their wedding, Lord Ramsay had locked her away in a tower and starved her to death. In the end, she had eaten her own fingers.
Ew.
Ew.
If you had to eat your
Not the
own
vibe.
thumb or your own finger, like if you had to choose one of your fingers or thumbs to eat, which one would you eat?
Left pinky.
Yeah.
Oh no, fuck! I need that for like playing the bass note.
Oh no.
Actually, maybe left ring because I'm not gonna need that for anything.
Yeah, like in my head,
Oh
it's
no, I
like,
do need that.
the pinky seems like the easy choice, but I feel like the pinky has like a stabilizing role when you're like gripping things. Maybe the ring finger is actually the least important because it's sort of in between.
Maybe my right ring finger.
Yeah. I mean, Frodo loses his ring finger, and he's okay.
He went to heaven.
He went to heaven.
Yeah. We should all emulate Frodo by losing our ring fingers.
Yeah, so this is a very disturbing passage where, Ramsay forcibly married Lady Hornwood and then had her die so that he could steal her land. Do you think that maybe
It's cool that that's how that works.
Yeah, do you think this system of, like, feudal marriages to acquire land is maybe a bad system?
No, look, it's got its bad eggs. Sometimes served with melons, confusingly.
It's got its bad eggs and good melons. As they say, the world's full of bad eggs and good melons.
Isn't that a David Bowie album?
Probably.
Bad eggs and good melons.
Is there an actual...
Never mind. The people who know will know.
Yeah, I need to up my Bowie law. So I think this is very disturbing and upsetting. It's an F.
You're gonna give that one an F. Sorry, Lady Hornwood, your fingers do not sound that good.
Do you think Lady Hornwood's gonna get some kind of justice?
I cannot imagine Ramsay living to the end of the story.
Yeah, I think Ramsay's gonna die, but there's also the whole sort of Hornwood land inheritance
Yeah.
thing. Like, surely they're not gonna let Wyman get the Hornwood lands in the end, because that's what he's angling for in book 2.
Yeah.
In our next chapter, Tyrion is on the Shy Maid, the little boat going down river with young Griff and Big Griff and all the other Grifflings. And Ysilla was turning the biscuits. She laid an iron pan atop the brazier and put the bacon in. Some days she cooked biscuits and bacon. Some days bacon and biscuits.
Oh.
Once every fortnight, there might be a fish, but not today.
Not today.
I like
That's
how...
a fun passage.
It's really fun because it captures the passage of time, and it sort of says there's sort of a sameness to these days, and there's a little bit of variety, but it sort of gives this pleasant passing of time.
Yeah.
It's very wholesome.
What sort of biscuit do you think George is referring to here?
Yeah, it's not that awful biscuits and gravy kind of biscuit, is it? It probably
You
is.
just offended so many people.
I know. I don't want to offend anyone's culture, but biscuits and gravy is not something that I have had good experiences with
I
personally.
didn't enjoy them, no.
So,
It's very strange to me.
Yeah, like... So, I mean,
Or is she making Tim Tams?
it could be Tim Tams and bacon,
Yeah.
which I
That doesn't make much sense to me either. Although I wouldn't put it past Arnott's to make a bacon-flavored Tim Tam. They've been doing all sorts of crazy things recently.
I think the texture of bacon and Tim Tams would be very bad. I don't like the idea of Tim
No,
Tams.
it depends on how you cook the bacon. But
and the Tim
anyway,
Tams.
yeah, probably a scone-like biscuit.
Yeah, so I think that there's a distressing ambiguity in this passage vis-a-vis biscuits.
Biscuit.
I mean, the bacon sounds great, and the occasional fish sounds great. And I mean, like the vibe here is like sort of
Yeah,
wholesome and
hearty,
positive.
wholesome, pleasant, savory food. It's quite the theme.
Well, hang on.
What's up?
This just in. Here's the following section.
Food update.
We've received some new information. Tyrion snatched a biscuit off the brazier, darting away just in time to avoid a smack from her fearsome wooden spoon.
Haha.
The biscuits were best when eaten hot, dripping with honey and butter.
Okay.
The smell of the bacon cooking soon fetched Duck up from the hold.
I mean, that sounds even better.
Honey and butter.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great kind of biscuit.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious. That sounds. I mean, it's so sweet. It's not like it's not a savory biscuit.
I mean, the biscuit itself might be savory.
Sounds
it's
a
just
bit
adorned with
desserty
honey.
to me. Yeah, well, it does sound great when it's got honey and butter
Yeah.
going on.
Honey and butter will improve most things. Even, like, maybe Hornwood should have dressed her fingers with honey and butter, although she was being starved at the time, so maybe it wasn't available to her.
I feel like if she had access to honey and butter,
She
she
wouldn't
wouldn't need
be-
to eat
yeah,
her fingers. But
Yeah. No, to each their own.
yeah, I don't judge. I think this is a
Say it.
A.
Yeah.
It's an A.
It can be A.
It's an A. Although you do have to contend with a fearsome wooden spoon.
I think that makes it even more delicious that you had to, like, go through a trial to eat it.
You have to fight the dragon to get the gold.
Exactly.
And Tyrion knows that these biscuits are worth it. And so then Davos is in White Harbor, the city of the Manderleys. Although someone in the live chat just said, did he just vomit up Duck? So to clarify, Duck is the name of a character in the Game of Thrones books who is not in the Game of Thrones show.
That is a funny turn of phrase, I suppose. Fetched Duck up from the hold being Tyrion's stomach.
Yeah, that sounds like a very funny euphemism for puking duck.
I don't think the smell of bacon would make Tyrion vomit up his previous duck.
Yeah, no, we're talking about a human duck, not a duck vomit.
This is the sort of fun you can have when you name your characters silly things, though.
Rolly Duckfield is his proper name.
I
isn't it?
love him. It's great.
So Davos is in White Harbor. Back in his smuggling days, the eel had been renowned for offering the oldest whores and vilest wine in White Harbor, along with meat pies full of lard and gristle that were inedible on their best days and poisonous on their worst.
I don't want it.
That sounds awful.
That sounds truly terrible.
My goodness. You'd really have to go out of your way to get all of the gristle cuts into your meat pies, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Meat is not mostly composed of gristle.
Yeah. Like, do you go to the butcher and say, just give me all the
Give me
cheapest
the
stuff
worst
that
part
you're
of
gonna
everything.
chuck out? I guess you can buy that more inexpensively. Yeah, no, this sounds pretty awful. Vile wine.
I mean, he literally says they're poisonous.
Runs the spectrum from inedible to poisonous. It reminds me of what's his name, like Dibbler in Discworld, who sells meat pies everywhere, and they're awful, but everyone buys them, and he's like
Pratchett.
the greatest entrepreneur in Discworld. Yeah, that's. I think that's. I mean, at the risk of ranking this the same as the fingers,
And human flesh.
it's an F.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's poisonous.
It might even have some human in it for all we know.
Yeah.
I think that it's very. I think it besmirches the honor of Wyman Manderley that he allows an establishment with such low standards
And
to be in
old
his
whores,
city.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Wyman should do better than this, so it's an F.
7 hells.
Do better, Wyman.
Daenerys 3, A Dance with Dragons. Zarozo and Daxos is visiting Marine, and so they're having a meal.
Zaro's not dead in the books, by the way.
Yeah, that was a show invention to have Zaro locked in a bank vault with
Daria.
Daria, yeah. she of the bath with Harry Lloyd.
What a great scene. What an excellent scene where Harry Lloyd invents a few dragons.
Fantastic scene. I think that Viserys might have just read some like Valyrian fanfic and
He'd recently played Skyrim, the Skyrim beta, which came out earlier that year.
the great Targaryen dragon Alduin. The wine was sweet and strong, redolent with the... Is it redolent or redolent? Is it really redolent? Redolent, redolent.
I'll go call Susie Dent while you finish this.
With the smell of eastern spices, much superior to the thin Giscari wines that had filled her cup of late, Zaro perused the fruits on the platter Jiqui offered him and chose a persimmon. Its orange skin matched the color of the coral in his nose. He took a bite and pursed his lips. Tart. Would my lord prefer something sweeter? Sweetness cloys. Tart fruit and tart women give life its savour. Zaro took another bite, chewed, swallowed. Daenerys, sweet queen, I cannot tell you what pleasure it gives me to bask once more in your presence.
You're not going to believe this. It's redolent.
Redolent? Get out of here.
Okay.
I don't like that at all. Redolent?
I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
I would rather redolent to redolent. I think redolent is... That's got like a nice cellar door sort of a vibe.
I think
to it.
redolent also captures that a bit.
Redolent, I mean, that's kind of what I say, but I would not be offended if someone found it goofy to say redolent. I think putting the emphasis in the middle, the emphasis in the middle, often sounds goofy. And it sounds fancier if you put the emphasis at the start. Redolent.
Redolent.
Sediment.
This redolent sediment.
Betterment. Would you eat this?
Oh, I was too busy looking up. What are we eating?
So we're eating...
Fruits, persimmons, orange. She's a tart.
Who are you calling a tart?
Giscari wine. Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Pretty cool that Zarozo and Daxos has orange coral in his nose.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. Zaro's from that like culture that's always weeping, isn't he? The Carthene. They have like a very odd culture. It's really funny because Carth, I think, when George was writing the first book, Carth was like the edge of the map.
Yeah.
And so he put all of his most unusual stuff there.
And then he kept going further east.
But then he expanded the world further,
so
and Carth is no longer at the edge of the map, but it's still ultra odd and exotic. So
that's fun.
One of those many little world-building curiosities.
I like a sour taste.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the eastern spices sound great in the wine. And
much superior to the thin Giscari wines.
I would enjoy a persimmon. And again, this is just Daenerys indicating once again that she would love to be anywhere other than here in Meereen. Which is why she's heroic, because she's still trying anyway. And once again we have Zaro saying... Well, hang on. Zaro is saying that tart women give life its savour, but then he calls Daenerys sweet.
That's fun, isn't it?
He's insulting her.
Yeah.
He just said that he likes tart women, but
and
Daenerys
that sweetness
is not a tart.
cloys. It's very obvious.
That's such an insult.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the fun things about Zaro is that he's lying constantly and he's fakely, performatively crying all the time, and it's he's a bullshit.
I mean, he's calling Daenerys sweet queen the same way that the Lannisters call each other sweet.
Yeah, sarcastically. And this is before Daenerys even refuses Zaro, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like Illyrio, I'm getting similar vibes of Zaro's duplicitousness through this.
But how would you rank the persimmon?
Persimmon. I would eat a persimmon. I would drink these strong, tart, spiced wines.
We don't have a would eat ranking. What letter are you giving them?
I'm giving it a B.
B.
Yeah.
Would eat.
Yeah. Because we're not given a lot of information here, really, on the persimmon at least. But I would like to try the wines. We are now at Castle Black, under the wall, in the storeroom, where with the big pomegranate himself, Bowen Marsh, and they're counting up what food supplies do the Night's Watch have.
Would you eat Bowen Marsh?
I
The
would
pomegranate?
not eat Bowen Marsh.
Yeah, still
He's
human flesh.
too angry.
Oh, that's why.
In the granaries were oats and wheat and barley, and barrels of coarse ground flour. In the root cellars, strings of onions and garlic dangled from the rafters, and bags of carrots, parsnips, radishes, and white and yellow turnips filled the shelves. One storeroom held wheels of cheese so large it took 2 men to move them.
Wow.
In the next, casks of salt beef, salt pork, salt mutton, and salt cod were stacked 10 feet high. 300 hams and 3,000 long black sausages hung from ceiling beams below the smokehouse. In the spice locker, they found peppercorns, cloves, and cinnamon, mustard seeds, coriander, sage, and clary sage and parsley, blocks of salt. Elsewhere were casks of apples and pears, dried peas, dried figs, bags of walnuts, bags of chestnuts, bags of almonds, planks of dry smoked salmon, clay jars packed with olives in oil and sealed with wax. One storeroom offered potted hare, haunch of deer in honey, pickled cabbage, pickled beets, pickled onions, pickled eggs, and pickled herrings.
Oh, you had to end it with a great one, didn't you, George?
Well, we continue into the icy freezer zone, which is bristling with iron hooks. From each hook hung a carcass, skinned deer and elk, sides of beef, huge sows swinging from the ceiling, headless sheep and goats, even horse and bear. Hoarfrost covered everything. As they did their count, John peeled the glove off his left hand and touched the nearest haunch of venison. He could feel his fingers sticking, and when he pulled them back, he lost a bit of skin. John had just been thinking that all the meat in the world surrounded them.
Real.
That is a lot of food.
It's a lot of food.
That is a lot of food. Would you eat
Would I
it?
eat all of it? This is one big meal.
This might be the biggest food description in
Yeah,
the series.
George
isn't
was
it?
hungry when he was writing this chapter.
But the funny thing about this is that it's such a big food description, but Bowen ends it by saying that this is not enough food.
Yeah, this is nowhere near enough. We're going to die.
We'll be down to turnips and peas porridge before the year is out, and after that, we'll be drinking the blood of our own horses.
Yum.
So, it's sort of an ironic food description.
Yeah, this passage is more about the logistics of running an institution than it is how great food is.
It gives
But you
you
know,
a
food
sense
is a
of
part of
scale.
humanity.
Yeah, well, it's about a politics.
Yeah.
It's about a ruling. And so it really gives you a sense of scale when you're like, oh, that's a lot of food,
I mean,
but winter is long, and there's many people who need it.
perhaps food is the most important part of politics.
Yeah, I mean, bread and circuses, right?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of impossible to rate it all, isn't it? I like the variety.
I mean, you would want to, because this is supposed to be everything this is everything.
You could eat a bit of bear as well as... Oh, well, you don't want to eat bear. But you could eat...
I would never eat bear.
You would
no.
never eat bear. But I like all the pickled things.
I know what
They
he
sound
eats. I'm
good.
not eating him.
Dried peas, dried figs, chestnuts, walnuts. There's a lot of salted things. I feel like I'd be getting way too much salt.
Well, I mean, that's basically the salt that you're getting. Right,
Yeah.
that's the way you have salt. Maybe you won't be having too much. Maybe it's a perfectly normal amount of salt.
I like the emphasis on like the spices and things.
Well, it's extraordinarily necessary.
Is it?
Spices to enjoy food, yeah.
To enjoy food. I mean, this is about survival.
How is it really living without spices?
Yeah. Well, you've just sort of captured George's whole philosophy
Yeah.
again, haven't you? Is it even worth living
If I can't have some coriander.
if you don't enjoy it? Yeah. The spice of life.
Oh, by the way, coriander is cilantro, everyone. If you didn't know that one.
Actually, it's soap.
That's true.
I
I do have the cilantro soap gene, but I enjoy the taste of soap, so it's all good.
Are you prepared to rank your most delicious soaps? Because
Oh,
surely
yeah.
it's not all the same.
No, they're all flavored very differently.
Yeah. Are you like a soap purist? Like only bar soap counts as
No,
soap?
no,
Or
I'll eat hand soap.
you'll eat hand soap,
Yeah.
dishwasher
Yep.
soap,
Tide
detergent,
Pods.
Tide Pods.
Yep.
Was that you who started all that
I'll
Tide
never
Pod
tell.
business?
I'll never tell.
Big Tide Pod's going to come and shut you down. I think
They owe me. That was great for their business.
well, you bought shares. I heard that it was an
Insider trading on
Tide Pod insider trading scandal with Glidus. Is that how you afforded that yacht?
Which one?
The SS Tide Pod.
Oh, that's a good one. Because it's a marine vessel,
That's
and we're
right.
talking about tides.
SS High Tide.
All right.
You can see a pod of dolphins from the SS Tide Pod.
Okay.
We're really into homonyms today, aren't we? It's all homonyms.
It always has been.
Always has been.
What?
All right, so... so, how do we collectively rate all of this food? I think this is B. It's a bit of variety, but like it's all you're eating for like a year.
And nothing here is like wonderful.
Yeah, nothing about this is super exciting. And I like the pickles, I like the spices, like there's a bit going on. But also it's like there is something existentially terrifying about all this
Yes.
food. It's like cuz it's plenty, but it's not plenty. Like it's paradoxical.
Yeah.
And it's threatening, and it's White Walkers, and it's time, and it's death, and it's age, and it's thousands of the commons, and it's the hungry mouths,
I could
and it's
imagine.
the leadership challenge.
I could imagine myself walking into these cellars and like being overwhelmed
Yeah.
by these concepts.
You know, like, what's that show, like, My Unusual Addiction? Where, like, there's someone who, like, eats mattresses or something, and then the way that they convince them to stop eating mattresses...
And you make fun of me for
is-
trying to eat books.
is that they wheel out, like, this is how many mattresses you eat in a year. And it's, like, 5 mattresses, and, like, fills up the room. And they're like, that's so many mattresses. I'll
But the
never eat a mattress again. Have you seen that?
No, I've never seen that. You're
Ah.
describing a fever dream currently.
It's like that. There's all sorts of weird stuff that people... And this is what they do in the show. They just bring out, like, wheelbarrows of, like...
Bring out the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. This is how many books you eat in your sleep.
This is how many dictionaries you just live streamed. This is how I'm going to convince you to stop eating books after once your book phase is
Can't be
concluded.
done.
So,
Once you go book, you never go back.
So, where were we? I think that this is an upsetting food description.
Yes, even though all the food here sounds fine.
It's so much food that I'm no longer hungry, you know? It's too much, like Illyrio.
Oh, I could eat.
But it's also not enough. I think it's a B. It makes me have feelings, and I always rank things higher if they make me have feelings.
Yes. I mean, are we rating the food here or the piece of writing describing the food?
I think
This is the food descriptions
Yes,
stream.
all right.
We should be
we
rating
have
the writing.
criteria, but we also
Yeah.
operate by vibes to some extent.
I'm happy. You can make it a B. I'm fine with that.
A B it is.
I won't begin the civil war over this.
Right. Well, if there is a hill you want to die on,
I'll let you know. Don't
yeah,
worry.
you let me know. So, at the thought of drinking the blood of our own horses, Ed says,
of horse blood on a cold night. I like mine with a pinch of cinnamon sprinkled on top.
"Oh my gosh, that sounds awful."
He's a bit of a provocateur, isn't he?
I think he's just a shit stirrer.
Yeah.
He's probably got a YouTube channel. I think that. Do you think if you watered down horse blood, it might be okay?
Well, horse blood is sacred in my religion, so
Is it?
I won't even entertain the thought.
But you will eat soap.
I'm a complex man.
Yeah, you contain multitudes. I think that horse blood and cinnamon sounds appalling.
Strange mixture there. Yeah.
I think it's an E. It's not cannibalism, but it's bad.
Yep.
And Jon Snow then suggests that if they run out of food, they'll be eating snow and acorn paste.
Well, we judged acorn paste earlier, and we were not fans. Have you ever eaten snow?
I've tried. It's not very pleasant.
Hmm.
And you never really know where it's come from. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just fresh water.
Yeah, snow isn't just rain. Snow is ground as well.
Yeah, and whatever animals have been pooping on
Yes.
it. So I think that's another...
That's an E for... At the best, that's E.
Yeah. Our next description is in another John chapter.
He keeps coming back. He keeps eating.
Dolorous Ed had filled his trencher almost to overflowing to allow Three Finger Hobbs' infamous three-meat stew to soften the stale bread.
Tell me more.
The jest among the brothers was that the three meats were mutton, mutton, and mutton, but carrot, onion, and turnip would have been closer to the mark. A film of cold grease glistened atop the remains of the stew.
That sounds wonderful. But do you think George has the most fun when he's writing about food? Like
There's
mutton,
so much,
mutton, and mutton. That's such a great joke.
There's so much personality in
Yeah.
here. And yeah, like the sweet and tart joke from before.
Yeah.
You know, now that I go back to it, like the idea of like tart, like a tart is like a strumpet whose favor can be bought.
Hang on. If you're trying to...
And Zara's trying to buy Daenerys.
That is true.
So the fact that Daenerys refuses to sell herself out to Zara makes her not tart, and makes her conversely sweet. So it actually kind of works on another layer as well. That tart sweet.
Yeah. On the lemon orange spectrum, she's actually moved Sweetwood in the direction of a mandarin.
She has. Where would you rank yourself on that particular spectrum?
Grapefruit.
Grapefruit. Cool. I think that this has a lot of personality in it, but the purpose of this food description is to tell us that, we don't have enough food.
Yes, where our meat is vegetables at the moment.
Yes. And the film of cold grease
That's
is
not
not
supposed
a
to
good
be
time.
appetizing.
I reckon, I would still eat it.
Yeah, like it's fuel for your body and it's completely fine and edible.
There's nothing wrong with carrot, onion, and turnip, and the suggestion of some mutton, so...
Yeah. See?
Yeah. See.
We're feeding the wildlings now.
Yeah, so this is in Molestown, I think. So John bravely and generously and selflessly gives out food to the refugees, despite the fact that the wall doesn't have enough food. And they'd brought slabs of hard salt beef, dried cod, dried beans, turnips, carrots, sacks of barley meal and wheaten flour, pickled eggs, barrels of onions, and apples.
You can have an onion or an apple,
John heard Hairy Hal tell one woman.
but not both. You've got to pick.
How do you know Hairy Hal sounds like that?
That's exactly what Harry Hal sounds
It's like he's in the room with me. Would you pick an onion or an apple?
Ooh. The onion is more versatile.
Yeah. But the apple you can just eat right away.
Well, according to some, you can just eat the onion right now as well.
What, Tony Abbott?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he was a nation's leader, so who am I to
He's more qualified than us.
eat onions?
I would eat the apple just because you can just get it in you, in this situation. I mean, what has more, like, calories, though, an onion or an apple? Like, if you're in, like, a starvation situation, I feel like an apple...
Or a starvation, as we call them.
Yeah, starvation. I don't know, like, the onion feels like the right answer because it's, like, savory and earthy and dense. I guess an onion is more dense and maybe more nutrient dense than an apple. But I feel like an apple, like, it's got some vitamins and minerals going on that you might need.
Well, the sugar in an apple is definitely something to be said for.
Yeah.
Because that's, like, immediate energy, right?
And I feel like if you can cook the onion, you might get more nutrients out of it than if you don't cook it. Whereas an apple you can just eat.
Yeah.
Although if you cook an apple, do you think you'd get more nutrients out of it?
I don't know.
I know that we're 22 hours into this, but it'd be really cool if there was
If
like
either of us knew anything about food.
Yeah, like it's been quite humbling. Like I'm sort of being
yeah.
reminded of how little I know and how cool it would be. Like wouldn't it be great?
And this is probably what it's like for any topic we chose to delve into. We don't know enough.
It would be so awesome to have like a food scientist to tell us these things. Maybe there's a food scientist who could just like watch our streams and then just tell us all the interesting, true stuff that we're missing.
I don't want to be dunked on in a YouTube reaction stream. I really appreciate a different format for that.
I would like to be dunked on, but it can be a nice dunk.
We can
it can
get
be
you
like
dunked.
a PowerPoint
We can dunk you.
presentation. Yeah, let's arrange my dunking for the good of all. So, what do you think of the hard salt beef, cod, beans, turnips, carrots, barley, meal, flour, eggs, onions, apples? What do you think of that situation?
Before judging it, I'd like to point out that while Dolorous Ed is eating his 3-meat stew of carrot, onion, and turnip, the wildlings are receiving hard salt beef.
Yeah, they're getting meat. I mean, these guys have like barely eaten at all.
Yeah.
In yonks.
But that means like John is willing to part with what's probably a very valuable resource at Castle Black just to make sure that these people can stay alive.
I think that part of the implication is that John identifies with the wildlings more than with the Night's Watchmen, because he spent all that time with the wildlings and Ygritte, and his fellow Night's Watchmen have been nothing but a pain in the ass to him. So it makes sense that he's feeling inclined to be generous to the wildlings, even though most of these particular wildlings hate his guts.
Yep.
I mean, it emphasizes again that like John's familyless, like neither of these sides accept him, despite his willingness to try to look after them both. It's tragic.
None of this food blows me away, but it's food.
Yeah, I mean, it's more ingredients than food. All the dried food and stuff. So I think it's like I don't know, is it a D? Like, there's potential here, but like what we're being presented with is not a...
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'd give it a C.
Yeah, okay. C. Tyrion Lannister is in Selhorus.
Another banger location.
Banger name, for sure. Would you like to read the description?
I'd love to. Ahem. A porter trotted at their heels, pushing a wheelbarrow heaped high with provisions. Salt and flour, fresh churned butter, slabs of bacon wrapped in linen, sacks of oranges, apples... What?
Oh.
Oh, he was exclaiming at the food. Sacks of oranges, apples, and pears. Yandri had a wine cask on one shoulder, while Isilla had slung a pike over hers. The fish was as large as Tyrion.
Hell yeah, dwarf-sized pike.
May I continue?
Dwarf-sized pike.
Is the second one a different description?
I think that is separate, isn't it?
Well, treat it separate.
This is provisions.
Yes.
And I think that's some pretty good provisions.
Yeah. I mean, the fresh churned butter. Come on.
And all the fruit sounds good, and the fish. I mean, that's a lot of good food groups in there. And the fish as large as Tyrion. I think that's
still a pretty big fish.
Yeah. No, I think that's an A. Or a B. Because again, it's not really a meal.
Yeah,
it's
these
more
are
just
provisions.
Supplies. Yeah, so maybe B is reasonable.
Although food being located inside a wheelbarrow always makes me more keen to get into it.
The fact that the bacon comes in slab form.
Pallets of bacon.
Bring me the food in a wheelbarrow and then carry me off in that wheelbarrow after I've eaten all the food. It's a perfect system.
Let's chuck that one a B.
Later, supper was a plate of roasted goat served on a bed of sliced onions. The meat was spiced and fragrant, charred outside, and red and juicy within.
Ooh.
Tyrion plucked at a piece. He's deliberately putting alliteration in all of his food descriptions to make it a sensory experience. It was so hot it burned his fingers, but so good he could not help but reach for another chunk. He washed it down with the pale green Volantine liquor, the closest thing he'd had to wine for ages.
I wonder what that is.
Absinthe, maybe.
Ooh, I
pale green
doubt
liquor.
it.
Good. I mean, who knows, man? They eat fucking sweet beets all the time up in here. Anything's
all
possible.
Sorts of crazy stuff happens.
How long do you think you could survive on beets and absinthe?
Oh, I think that's how Bowie recorded those 3 albums when he lived in Berlin.
Callback. I think this sounds delicious. The roasted goat, the onions, the red and juicy meat with the spices. It's so good.
He plucked at a piece.
And I'm intrigued by the pale green Volantine liquor.
Would you drink the unlabeled pale green liquor?
I would. Is it liquor or is it liqueur? I never know.
Well, it says
liquor
liquor.
or liqueur. Yeah, okay.
And liqueur is a different word that's spelt differently, but means something very adjacent.
Very adjacent.
Very adjacent.
Highly so adjacent that it's
almost tangential.
I think this is great. I think this is an A. I mean, Tyrion's enjoyment of this definitely influences us.
Yeah.
But I think this is an A. This is yum as hell.
Sounds great.
Roast
goat.
Oof.
It's charred on the outside, but it's red and juicy. He's basically telling us that it's rare.
Why haven't I eaten something this delicious today? Roast goat. It's an A. It's an A.
Best season ever.
It's the best season ever.
We need a reaction sound clip that's actually positive.
Like more positive, yeah.
What? Someone in the chat. What clip should we use to play when we're actually genuinely enthusiastic about something?
We can crowdsource this.
Yeah, if anyone's got a good clip to suggest that we should put on our soundboard, feel free to comment it. What's next?
Well, Daenerys, her cooks have prepared a magnificent meal of honeyed lamb, fragrant with crushed mint, and served with the small green figs she liked so much.
Oh.
Crushed mint.
I'm
Lamb and
feeling
mint
S.
is up there.
Yeah, honeyed lamb, fragrant.
Honey
with
and
crushed mint.
those three ingredients, like, they don't initially sound like they work together, but now I'm thinking it through. Honey, mint, and lamb. Honestly, you're cooking.
Yeah. And the small green figs, I mean, I don't know what they're like, but if Daenerys likes them, I'll trust her.
Yeah,
on that.
I trust Daenerys with figs.
I think this is an S.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Good job, Daenerys' cooks.
There must be something good happening with Daenerys in this chapter.
Or it's contrasting something bad. That's the wonderful thing about contrast, is you can pick and choose what you meant.
Well, it means you're correct either way.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
either
yeah.
correct because it lines up, or are you correct 'cause
I'm
it
backing both
contrasts.
sides. That way I come out on top either way.
You generate a tremendous amount of power. So then Quentyn is with the Windblown as part of a ploy to get to Daenerys in Meereen. And he remembers fighting, quote-unquote, at Astapor, because that slave city is falling to pieces. Daenerys conquered Astapor, didn't she? But then it all turns to crap when she leaves.
Didn't she leave it in the care of a butcher king named Cleon? Oh no, he rose to power, didn't he?
Yeah.
Cleon, the butcher king.
Yeah, so she declared mission accomplished in her intervention, but then it all sort of fell to pieces.
I wonder if George meant anything by this.
Yes. And so Quentyn remembers the absolute state of things that he found in Astapor. Dying men staggering through the streets, bloody and befouled. Children fighting over half-cooked puppies.
Oh dear.
The last free king of Astapor screaming naked in the pit as he was set on by a score of starving dogs.
Oh no, children eating dogs, dogs eating kings.
Yeah, the whole
that's a
the
bit
whole
dire.
beautiful cycle of life
Yeah,
is
we're
all
all
topsy-turvy.
reduced to animal basics.
Yeah, the fact that there's people eating dogs and dogs eating people simultaneously is...
It's George showing us very clearly that man has become animal, like beast.
And there's a breakdown in any sense of order. Everything's all topsy-turvy. Because Daenerys broke the institution of slavery, which was a good thing to do, but it took away the one structure that this place had, and nothing was replacing it, so everything became chaos. And dogs being eaten. And it sucks.
I think the dude being eaten by dogs sucks too.
Oh, that sucks a lot. I'm thinking that this might be an F.
This may be an F.
This may be
I mean,
an F.
you lost me at children fighting over half-cooked puppies.
The fact that it's half-cooked
Yeah.
just makes it so much worse.
Bloody and befouled. Or at least they're chickens.
I think it's interesting that like the heroic Starks are connected to their wolves that are basically dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And the wolves are so beloved and cool, and that makes it extra gross when these dogs are being eaten in Slaver's Bay. You know?
Yeah.
Because we're so attached to these other dog characters.
Or maybe it's just because most people like dogs.
Yeah. Herons are craven.
That is such a bold thing to start your line with. What do you have against herons? What a
time-
strange hill to die on.
Me and Drink and Cletus were hunting, and we came on these herons wading in the shallows, feasting on tadpoles and small fish. They made a pretty sight, aye. But then a hawk passed overhead, and they all took to the wing like they'd seen a dragon. Kicked up so much wind it blew me off my horse. But Cletus knocked an arrow to his string and brought one down. Tasted like duck, but not so greasy.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it does sound pretty good.
Duck is good.
I gotta say, these are some of the least memorable passages in A Song of Ice and Fire, if I'm being honest.
Did you make this up?
Right? Wouldn't it be funny if I just, like, made a fake chapter in this?
Yeah, sneak it past everyone.
Yeah, a lot of people don't love the Quentin Martell chapters. Like, I'm in the camp that, like, I think the meaning of it is interesting in terms of, you know, parodying the sort of fantasy hero's journey
Sure.
and what it means for Duran Martel's folly. But in terms of like,
Actual words on the page.
yeah, and a lot of these characters, like, you know, Garrus Drinkwater and all them, they're not the most memorable, lovable
What
characters.
do you have against Cletus Ironwood?
Cletus yeah, no.
His name is Cletus Ironwood.
Yeah,
What's
no.
not to love?
Yeah, no. So I feel like it's not the best storyline in this series. But a duck that's a bit less greasy. I feel like the grease is part of the fun of eating a duck. But I would enjoy a heron.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind if I was served a duck that was slightly leaner.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to go B?
Yeah, sure. It's just a good bird, but like be nice to herons. Like what? They didn't do anything to you.
Sailing on an overcrowded ship, tossed by wind and sea, eating hard bread, crawling with weevils,
Oh.
and drinking black tar rum to sweet oblivion.
Oh.
Sleeping on piles of mouldy straw
Oh.
with the stench of strangers in his nostrils.
Oh.
So this is Quentin realizing that his grand adventure is not as fun as he thought it would be. And food's not good either.
Adventure stank are the first words of Quentin Martel's POV.
Adventure stank. Hard bread crawling with weevils and black tar rum to oblivion.
I'm not quite sure what black tar rum means.
Yeah, it was like black rum. I don't know what black tar rum is. I guess it's real strong and dense.
Probably not good.
Probably not good. Yeah, that's gonna... And, you know, with the moldy straw
It's
and the
not
stench of strangers... It's
Not a positive environment.
Yeah. Do you think he should talk to HR about this? Because he's with the mercenary company at this
Well,
point.
you'll have to take a ticket.
Do you think black tar rum is Vegemite?
Huh.
It's got to come from somewhere. It's like the Slurm Factory. They need to do like a Slurm Factory episode about Vegemite. You know, honey comes from bees. Where do you think toothpaste comes from?
Classic stuff right there.
I think there's an F.
F? Or the weevils, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty
Not
rough.
a fan of the weevils.
Lots of protein.
Yeah, I hope so. So now, in The Wayward Bride, Asher Greyjoy, aka Yara Greyjoy, is remembering her side piece, Carl. What's his surname again? Carl. What's his name? Fucking Carl Sweet Cheeks. Carl the maid.
Carl the maid.
Carl the maid. Her friend with benefits. They called at Fair Isle and Lannisport and a score of smaller ports before reaching the Arbor, where the peaches were always huge and sweet. You see, she'd said, the first time she'd held one up against Carl's cheek. When she made him try a bite, the juice ran down his chin, and she had to kiss it clean. That night, they'd spent devouring peaches and each other.
Oh, yeah?
And by the time daylight returned, Asher was sated and sticky and as happy as she'd ever been.
Interesting.
Sex and food.
Yeah.
Very connected for George Martin.
Yeah.
Peaches and juice and sticky and sweet, and
I mean,
it's all happening. It's all happening.
Food and sex are literally the two most important things for the continuation of a species.
Well, that and prunes.
Pruning, and one must prune oneself to ensure the survival.
Yeah. I mean, George is not the first person to draw a line between those two dots. Yeah, connected for sure. And yeah, that, you know, as happy as she'd ever been, Asher is having two of her deepest needs fulfilled, and it's great.
This is an example. So we were discussing sweetness versus tartness and how, well, and savoriness as well. Maybe it's a triangle rather than a line.
Well, it's more of a pentagon.
Yeah.
It's got umami in there as well.
And salt, of course.
Hmm.
So we were talking about how sweetness is corruption in the context of Illyrio.
Or it can mask corruption.
Yeah, but here, sweetness is sweetness.
Yeah.
It's lust, it's enjoyment of another.
Yeah. Yeah, well, sometimes the sweetness is real and sometimes the sweetness is lies.
Manufactured.
Like, I think that's George's thing in
He
Ice
hates
and Fire.
aspartame because it's like faking sweetness.
And yet he drinks Diet Coke.
Yeah, true. Well, the human heart in conflict with itself.
I think
He
that's,
loves sugar, but he drinks Diet Coke.
I think that sweetness is a promise, and sometimes the promise is unfulfilled, and sometimes it is fulfilled. Like something is sweet; it has the appearance of being beautiful and good and wholesome and good for you. But sometimes after you eat it, you realize it was too much and it's gross, and you regret it. But other times you feel sated.
I've never felt bad after eating 6 churros.
But the 7th churro, that's when things go downhill.
Oh man, those churros.
I feel like this is an A because it's just such a delightful, positive passage.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not really about the... I'm starting to think that it's not really about the
I'm
peaches.
starting to think that maybe that we're saying more than just what the food is.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, vibe is part of it. This is an A vibe. This is nice. And I think it's nice because it shows us that Asher could be doing something more fun right now.
Yeah. And that's true of most characters.
She's risking her life and her joy to try and make the Iron Islands better, and that's admirable. And yeah, someone in the live chat points out that it connects to Renly's peach as well.
Yeah, I was going to bring that
Stannis
up.
talks about. So the sweetness, it really is the good in life.
Was Renly also remembering Carl the Maid's bum?
Well, yeah, this really does just give further evidence for the theory that Renly's peach is Loras.
Yeah.
It's not the first time that George is connecting peaches to sex. It's good. He's a good writer.
You think?
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. I think he's all right. He'll go places.
We're back with Tyrion now, and we've reached Volantis.
Mm.
A more memorable place name than the others he's gone through.
Mm.
Is this after he's been taken hold of? I guess that makes sense, because the first 2 words are his captor, and the rest of them are returned shortly, carrying 2 tankards and a roasted duck. He kicked the door shut, ripped the duck in 2, and tossed half of it to Tyrion. He would have snatched it from the air, but his chains brought him up short when he tried to lift his arms. Instead, the bird struck his temple and slid hot and greasy down his face, and he had to hunker down and stretch for it with fetters clanking. He got it on the 3rd try and tore into it happily with his teeth. "Some ale to wash this down?" Mormont handed him a tankard. "Most of Volantis is getting drunk, why not you?" The ale was sweet as well. It tasted of fruit. Tyrion drank a healthy swallow and belched happily.
It's funny that Tyrion's having such a good time while he's a prisoner of Jorah Mormont in Volantis.
Like this is far more positive than Illyrio's feasts.
I think he was getting sick of the Shy Maid people anyway.
Yeah.
Change of scenery. Maybe he's kind of happy to be taken back towards Westeros, or at least he thinks he is.
Is this still the same passage?
No. I think that's a different food description.
Cool.
I think this first food description is about the half a duck that has just been thrown at Tyrion's face.
That's pretty generous of Jorah, I have to say.
Yeah, there's no way Tyrion requires as much food as Jorah.
Yeah. Like half a duck? Ducks are like not small birds in terms of cuisine.
However, it is psychopathic to me to just throw half a duck at Tyrion. It's like,
what an insulting thing to do.
like there's like it's highly likely that it's going to end up on the floor, and then you're going to get like dirt and grime and grot on your duck, which is not what anyone wants. So it's really a mixed blessing, isn't it? But I mean, you know,
What an anecdote, though. Remember the time you threw a duck at me?
Yeah.
That's how you forge a friendship.
Every great romance starts with half a duck being thrown at your face. I mean, it is Alt Shift X law that the traditional way to say hello where I come from is to throw a rock at someone's face after writing the word hello on the rock. But there is an alternative custom, which is to write g'day on half a duck and throw it at someone.
Which half?
Well, that's up to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dealer's choice.
That's right. So I think this is a pretty delicious sounding food description.
I mean, it's a duck.
And there's also
Ducks are great.
There's also a sweet ale in there, a sweet fruity ale.
So it's interesting that this is being posed to Tyrion in his current conditions. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this Jorah guy is all right. I think it's a B because it's, you know,
It's been on the floor.
it's been on the Yeah.
And it hit you in the face.
But then they go to the pub, and Jorah orders food and drink. They broke their fast with warm, soft flatbread,
Ooh.
pink fish roe,
Ooh.
honey sausage,
Ooh.
and fried locusts.
All right.
Washed down with a bittersweet black ale. Mormont spread some fish roe across a slice of flatbread and took a bite. Tyrion says, "You never know who the wind might blow in. My one true love, my father's ghost, a duck." He popped a locust into his mouth and crunched it. Not bad for a bug. What do you reckon?
You heard me oohing at a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I think this sounds fantastic.
Warm, soft flatbread fish roe, which it is probably salmon eggs, pink fish roe,
Yeah.
or something like
Ain't
that.
that caviar?
Well, caviar is a roe.
Yeah, I think this sounds great.
Oh yeah, there is pink caviar. That's right.
Honey sausage, fried locusts, black ale. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's an A.
lovely.
At least an A.
I've
Tyrion-
never eaten a fried locust.
Might have a go. I reckon it'd be pretty
Yeah.
good. How big are the locusts, I wonder? I might be less game the bigger the locust is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like you sort of, like there's sort of organs in there if it's really big, you know? Whereas if it's really little, it's just a little
Like
crunch.
a little snack
Just
locust.
a little texture crunch.
I think
you know?
that I don't know if locusts are gonna get any bigger than like 3. Oh no, maybe they do get longer than that.
Yeah.
I'm picturing like 3 centimeter size locust,
Yeah. No, I would
like
absolutely
an inch
eat
or
this.
so.
I'm feeling an A.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. I
Nothing
like it.
wrong with spreading some caviar along a piece of bread.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Not bad for a bug.
So now Davos is a prisoner in White Harbor. And
This is one hell of a way to experience the story, by the way. Just through the
isn't it?
food.
yeah. Well, as it turns out, you get most of the plot.
Yeah.
Just by reading the food descriptions. And so in the dungeons, Davos gets a nice meal for once. In place of gruel and stale bread and rotten meat, the usual dungeon fare, his keepers brought him fresh caught fish, bread still warm from the
Ooh.
oven, spiced mutton, turnips, carrots, even crabs. Whoa.
Ooh.
So I think Wyman is giving Davos good food because he's actually planning to keep Davos alive and to use him in the mission to steal Rickon.
Is this a sign to Davos?
A sign to Davos.
Like, is it a sign from Wyman to Davos that you're gonna be fine?
Yeah, well, Davos notes that this is unusual.
Yeah.
I think he realizes that he's being treated special. So yeah, I mean, this sounds pretty great, doesn't it? Spiced mutton?
Oh yeah,
Warm bread?
that really got me going. Yeah, bread
Carrots and
straight out of the
crabs?
oven.
Yeah.
Mmm.
I mean, he is eating it in a dungeon, which I feel like might bring down the vibe a bit.
You never know what sort of dungeon you're in.
Mm.
And like to contrast this with rotten meat and stale bread and gruel.
Which is obviously an F. Rotten meat.
Rotten meat, literally inedible.
Yeah. But the,
Yeah, this is like B or A.
yeah.
Spiced mutton. Mmm.
Yeah, I'm feeling a B for
What
that one.
spices would you put on mutton?
All of them. All spice.
Yeah, all spice.
All spice. In the merman's court, they are eating lamprey pie and venison with roasted chestnuts. That sounds pretty great.
That sounds pretty great.
I think that's an A, honestly.
Sure.
Like the lamprey pie and the roasted chestnuts, like the texture going on there is incredible.
You're always on about the texture of
I
nuts.
am going on all about the texture of nuts. That is true. In the den, even prisoners ate porridge in the morning. But there were other places in this world where men were known to break their fast on human flesh.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
dear. Not human flesh.
So they're referring to scargos.
That's my least favorite of the fleshes.
How would you rank the other fleshes? Fruit flesh, fish flesh,
Ooh,
vegetable
fruit
flesh,
flesh.
potato flesh,
The mesocarp of fruits.
tree flesh, aka bark. Or is the flesh on the inside of the tree?
Yeah, you'd think so.
What do you call the inside tree?
Because the
matter?
flesh of an apple isn't the skin.
Yeah, you're right. The flesh. Well, but it's not all the way. It's not the organs.
No.
It's the muscle. Is the flesh the well, I feel like flesh on humans is like the skin, but it's not like the.
No, the flesh is the bits under the skin.
Yeah, but it's like not all the way in, I feel like flesh is like the inner skin when you talk about a human's flesh. I feel like the more times I say the word flesh, the more unpleasant I feel about the
Oh,
word.
it's not a nice word.
No, I don't like it. Let's
No.
move on. So,
F, by the way.
F. Daenerys says that
Miklas and Kesmia.
You know, I changed my mind. Those are the least memorable characters in
Yes.
Song of Ice and Fire.
George is not dodging the Slavers Bay characters. Just have obtuse names to make the reader annoyed allegations.
They sound like brands of Italian motorcycle.
Would you ride a Miklas?
I have. I think that we were talking about glubshitos earlier. I think Miklas and Kesmia might be the biggest glubschwiftos in all of A Song of Ice and... Oh, should I say...
Glubschwiftos.
Glubschwiftos. Well, that's what we should call our...
I don't know how we've been getting away with it for so long.
Collaboration channel. Welcome to the Glubschwifto Radio Hour.
I guess that would be a lot less confusing than alternating the streams on each of our channels.
Yeah, if anyone's got a suggestion on how we should distribute our
it's
live
so confusing.
streams, we don't know anymore. Because, I mean, there's the Game of Thrones Abridged UltraFX podcast feed, which has all of these live streams on it.
But it's a podcast feed and no one uses it.
Well, some people use it.
No one uses it.
I would like it if more people used it, because podcasts are pretty good, because you can use it in any app, and if the app does something obnoxious, like putting ads on it or something, you can use a different app.
But over here in the real world on YouTube, we're alternating these streams. Like, there's a playlist with all of them in it, but who uses YouTube playlists?
We could create a new channel called the Glubschwifto
Do we
Variety
need another
Hour.
YouTube channel in our lives?
It's possible to have too many YouTube channels. Yeah.
And then we'd have to like unlist the initial streams if we do them on these channels and re-host them on that channel. It just sounds like a mess.
I think
it's already a mess.
We should just start a new YouTube channel for every stream that we do.
That's right.
We should start 3 different YouTube channels and then not tell anyone which of the 3 contains the stream.
That sounds wonderful.
So it's like a choose your own adventure mystery.
Ooh.
Actually, I have been doing a bit of that. Anyway, so Miklas and Kesmia, everyone's favorite characters, were laying out a simple supper of autumn greens and ginger soup. What is autumn greens?
Autumn greens, like leaves? No.
I'm thinking like pumpkins aren't green. What are autumn greens? I don't know what autumn greens are. It depends where you are.
Yeah.
Like
and we're in Marine.
Seasonable vegetables. I mean, it's not really giving us a lot of information. Ginger soup, I would absolutely have a go. I feel like it might be overwhelming, but I'm hoping that it's like a soft.
Oh no, ginger in a soup can be wonderful.
Yeah. I feel like this is like a tentative. I feel like it's a C.
It sounds nice.
It does sound nice, but we're given so little information.
Yeah, it sounds nice and simple.
And I don't know if I trust Miklas and Kesmia's cooking, honestly.
Do you want to, next Halloween, do you want to do a couple's costume as Miklas and Kesmia?
That sounds fantastic. How will anyone recognize which one we are?
We'll wear like sandwich boards telling...
That's going to be the entire costume as a name costume. Yeah, that's a C.
Well, if we carry around a simple supper of autumn greens and ginger soup, it'd be unmistakable.
But then we have to figure out what autumn greens are. And what are the other ingredients in the soup? That's one of the...
It's ginger and water. What else do you need?
That's like the least descriptive food description in this whole series.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little disappointed. But, you know, it says simple.
Hey, look, it's the first and so far only Melisandre chapter in A Song of Ice and Fire.
That's not true. All of Fire and Blood is actually from Melisandre's point of view. All of the world of Ice and Fire is informed by Melisandre's accounts.
Because Mazaria is Mushroom,
That's
the fool.
Right. And Mazaria became Melisandre.
I thought so. Because if you rearrange the letters in Mazaria...
And add a few more and take away some others...
Then it's an anagram for Melisandre.
Yeah.
I will have nettle tea, a boiled egg, and bread with butter. Fresh bread, if you please. Not fried.
Shaken, not stirred.
So I think she mentions in this chapter that she doesn't actually need to eat.
Yes.
Because she's like immortal and...
She's a ghoul.
Maybe a ghoul of some description. Some kind of
a fire white, perhaps?
Spectre of the deep. Yeah, so that's what she chooses. It reminds me of Stannis's breakfast.
Yeah.
With the boiled egg and the sort of harsh beverage. Although she does like fresh bread and butter, so she's a bit more. I mean, it's funny that she's more kind of wholesome.
She's not going to eat any of this.
Well, I think she does. She can. She might.
Right, but she doesn't have to.
But you're right. So maybe this is just for appearances.
Do you think Stannis ate those eggs?
Maybe Stannis. I think Stannis might be a ghoul.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Like, he loses life whenever he does any of those shadowy things.
You mean having sex with Melisandre
Yeah.
on the painted table?
Exactly.
I think that this.
There's a portrait in his attic, and it's looking more youthful by the day.
Yeah, well, what is the price that Melisandre paid for her immortality? Is the interesting question.
Well, she has to drink nettle tea.
What, made out of nettles?
Yeah, nettles.
Is that what happened
That's
to
what
nettles?
happened to nettles.
That's why she's not in House of the Dragon. She got
Ryan
made into
put her
a
into
tea.
a tea.
Oh my god. Are you saying that Mazaria
And the boiled
sacrificed
egg,
nettles?
the egg is a reference to Aegon the Fifth.
No.
Who we'll be seeing in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. HBO's A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Duncan Egg, a Westeros story presented by David Zaslav's HBO.
Streaming exclusively on Peacock Plus Premium.
Brought to you by Pepsi.
Yes. No, that's correct.
I mean, bread and butter is an S-tier meal on its own, so I don't know what we're doing here.
It depends on the bread and it depends on the butter, but she is specifying fresh bread, which takes it up a notch.
Depending on the butter, it could be extraordinarily salty. Before modern inventions, butter had to be very salty to preserve.
Oh, really?
So unless the butter is also very fresh, it would be like unpalatably salty. Well, maybe not unpalatable, but like it'd be very salty to us at least.
What's going on with the nettle tea? Like, what does a nettle tea taste like?
Well, it's a tea made of nettles, and nettles, of course, sting when you touch them in plant form. But I've been told that it makes for a nice tea.
Yeah. Okay.
There were two farmers, I believe, in Wales or maybe southwest England, who had a competition to see who could eat the most nettles. I don't know why they were eating nettles. They numb the inside of your mouth. It can't be fun.
What? Who won?
One of the farmers, I assume.
The nettles lost. Whoever wins, the nettles lose. When are we doing an AVP ranking?
A what?
Alien vs Predator.
Oh, sorry, that was so out of pocket that I had no idea what you were talking about.
We never say non sequiturs on these shows. I think this is a B for boiled bread and butter. Barrowton is the location of our next chapter.
Do you think Barristan's ever gonna go to Barrowton? Barristan and Barrowton?
I heard he was conceived there.
Oh.
So at
Barristan, born in
Barrowton,
Barrowton.
I believe Lord Ramsay has brought his host there, and all the Northmen have to meet up there. And Lord Ramsay decreed a feast, even though like no one has food in the north. Ramsay's insisting on a feast. And so trestle tables were set up in Stout's Hall, an ox was slaughtered, and that night, as the sun went down, the empty-handed hunters ate roast and ribs, barley bread, a mash of carrots and peas, washing it all down with prodigious quantities of ale.
Now that is one adjective.
So,
prodigious quantities of ale.
And these are the empty-handed hunters, so they failed to hunt, but they are going into the storerooms to get all this food. So Stout, is Stout Barbary Dustin's person? Oh, I forget off the top of my head what's going on here politically. There's a bit of complicated politics that I don't remember exactly what's happening at this point in this chapter. But I think the point is that Ramsay's being kind of a dick by eating all of this guy's food when they don't really have enough food.
Right.
I think that's kind of what's going on.
And his prodigious quantities of ale.
And then they're heading on to Winterfell and they're bringing all this food because they're going to have a wedding feast for Ramsay and Arya Stark.
He's going to marry Arya Stark.
The fake Arya Stark, who's actually Jane Poole. And since Wyman Manderley loves to eat, they're bringing a lot of food. I mean, I suppose we should rank this first one first. So, like, roasts, ribs, barley bread, mash of carrots and peas.
That's roast ox, hey.
Roast ox. I think this sounds pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Sounds pretty good.
Mashed carrots and peas?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you reckon a B?
Yeah, B.
Yeah. And then for the wedding, they bring 40 wains full of foodstuffs. A lot of F's in there. Casks of wine and hippocras, barrels of fresh-caught lampreys, a herd of goats, 100 pigs, crates of crabs and oysters, a monstrous codfish. Lord Wyman likes to eat, you may have noticed.
A monstrous cod.
Do you think Wyman is eating like this and speaking like this and living so large because he doesn't expect to live very long? Theory, Wyman has grayscale.
It's always the grayscale with you.
Or maybe just like...
George R. R. Martin likes to eat. Does he have grayscale?
We didn't check. We didn't
No, I
check.
didn't check under his wrists.
I don't know. I think Wyman is eating recklessly.
I think he's just sort of a reckless guy.
And yet he's such a smart politician who's lasted this long. Do you think he would have lasted this long if he was so reckless all the time?
Maybe he's biding his time. That's what the fat is for, so he can hibernate.
He's got 9 lives like a cat and 9 chins. Because that's what happens towards the end of Dance, is he talks so much smack that the phrase and the phrase attack him, and they like slash a knife at him, and they cut like 4 of his 8 chins, but he survives, at least thus far. It's a bit much. It's a bit much.
Is it?
I'd like to eat the lampreys and the goats, but I don't think I could eat 100 pigs.
Well, it's not all for you.
No?
No.
I'd like a taste.
I don't think it's all for Wyman either. I don't think he's personally planning on eating those 100 pigs.
I think we'll give it a red hot go. I think this is a C.
Sure. For the crates of crabs.
What's next?
Well, Tyrion's on board the Selasori Karan, which is the ship I always confuse with the Shy Maid. And we're being fed a supper of buttered beets, cold fish stew, and biscuits that could have been used to drive nails. That is a very emphatic way of telling me that it's a stale biscuit.
Yeah, that's not great. And the cold fish stew is a bit
never
of a
my
downer.
favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of beets. The butter is helping, but
Yeah. Do you think it's a D?
yeah, if I could use one of the food stuffs as a piece of hardware, that's a D.
And like you have to eat it on this ship that's being tossed about by the waves. I feel like you're going to end up with cold fish stew on your jacket if you're not careful. So D it is. So then,
Oh, here's the big one.
Bran
Oh no,
and
I'm not ready for
friends
this.
are in the cave of Bloodraven. They've travelled all the way from Winterfell up to the distant cave in the north. They've been harried by zombies and whites and all manner of scary monsters,
But they made it.
but they made it. And we're getting this description of outside the cave are various zombies doing a ruckus, and Bran's direwolf Summer and a pack are watching and having a go at a snow bear, because a snow bear crashed through the brush, huge and skeletal, half its head sloughed away to reveal the skull beneath. Summer and his pack
so
fell
cool.
upon it and tore it into pieces. Afterward, they gorged, though the meat was rotted and half frozen, and moved even as they ate it.
Cool.
Oh.
Is a snow bear a polar bear or something else?
I think it's a bear made of snow.
Oh, like
Yeah.
a snowman, but a snow bear.
No, like the Colombian kind of snow.
Oh,
You ever seen that movie Cocaine Bear?
no, I haven't actually.
It was inspired by this.
Oh, cool.
So I would not like to eat a zombie bear.
They still moving zombie bear.
At what point does it stop moving? Like, if the individual, like,
Yeah.
chunks of flesh... Because, like, when Jon cuts off Othor's hand and it keeps moving, like, how tiny do the pieces need to be cut before the zombies stop moving?
Yeah, like Majin Buu, right? How are we gonna destroy it? Like how minute do these parts have to be before he's actually dead? The answer is there is no answer.
Like, you don't want to eat too large a chunk of meat from a zombie or it's going to bloody crawl back out of you.
Yeah, how does that work? Or is it more of a vibes-based soul thing, George?
Yeah,
You
but I mean, if you cut it up into different pieces, is the soul cut up? I thought the whole point
Ooh.
of a soul is that
Like
it's
Voldemort's Horcruxes?
Yeah. Is Summer eating a bear Horcrux right now?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, I never liked this.
I don't want it.
That's an F.
Under the hill, they still had food to eat. 100 kinds of mushrooms grew down here. That's so exciting. Blind white fish swam in the black river, but they tasted just as good as fish with eyes once you cooked them up. They had cheese and milk from the goats that shared the caves with the singers, even some oats and barley corn and dried fruit laid by during the long summer. And almost every day they ate blood stew, thickened with barley and onions and chunks of meat. Jojen thought it might be squirrel meat, but Mira said that it was rat. Bran did not care. It was meat, and it was good. The stewing made it tender.
So you know when Bran sees all those like green seer children of the forest that are like permanently plugged into the weirwood matrix?
Of course.
Do you think that's the source of this meat?
I think it could be, yeah.
Because like the whole point is that the singers are like going into the trees. What happens to their body after their soul goes into the trees? I think that might be the meat. It's creepy.
Woo.
And like, I mean, are the children of the forest really like? Do you think the reason why they have these goats and oats and barleycorn is specifically for
Bran.
the humans,
Yeah.
for Bran? Probably is, isn't it? Because it
Yeah,
seems.
what
like
do they eat regularly? They don't strike me as the type of things who would eat cheese,
Yeah,
milk loaf.
I feel like they're either vegetarians or they just like live off tree vibes or something.
Yeah.
You know, like pixie dust. Like I don't feel like they.
Do they photosynthesize?
Maybe. No mention of lichen.
Unfortunate.
I feel like this was a missed opportunity for some
Does lichen come up in the books ever?
I bet it
This
does.
is very important for my research.
Remember to like and subscribe.
Oh, there's lots of lichen in the books.
There are 17 mentions of lichen in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Well, that's fortunate. I'll have to go through those in my own time.
Yeah, I'll leave that for you to investigate.
Thank you.
There's a bit of variety in the menu that the Children of the Forest
Yeah,
have provided
honestly,
for
I
Bran.
was not expecting this like level of food from the cave.
Yeah. The blind white fish are a bit creepy.
Nah, it's fine. They're just fish.
The cheese and the milk, the oats, the dried fruit. I mean, even the blood stew, it does sound pretty good with the barley and onions and chunks of
Yeah,
meat.
like that sort of food is like common cuisine in certain parts of the world.
Yeah. Do you reckon a B?
Oh, I'd call it a C.
Yeah. All right. For the sus circumstances,
Yeah,
we'll make it a C.
because I'm pretty sure that meat is like, if the children of the forest aren't like human, they're human adjacent, right?
Yeah. Tangential, even.
God damn it. He ate. It had a bitter taste, though not so bitter as acorn paste. The first spoonful was the hardest to get down. He almost retched it right back up. The second tasted better. The third was almost sweet. The rest he spooned up eagerly. Why had he thought it was bitter? It tasted of honey, of new fallen snow, of pepper and cinnamon, and the last kiss his mother ever gave him.
Whoa.
Whoa.
It's so sad and
It's
so
so
happy
sad.
and so longing.
What a beautiful passage.
So this is Bran eating the weirwood paste that some fans speculate might contain the corpse of Jojen Reed, because the children tell him that this will awaken his magic power as a green seer, and Jojen has mysteriously disappeared, and sacrifice and blood are connected to magic, so it's quite a sinister moment, but it's also so poetic. And it's like the shade of the evening that Daenerys
Yep.
eats at the House of the Undying, which also has all these different tastes going on.
And awakens her psychologically,
Yeah.
or psychically, rather.
Does something
Psychedelically.
Does something similar happen when Paul tastes spice in Dune? I can't remember. For one of the times. Anyway, yeah, no, this is a wonderful food description.
Yeah.
I mean, it connects all that stuff we've been saying about food being connected to desire and life and warmth,
memory,
and it's what everyone
love,
wants and needs.
like honey, new fallen snow, pepper, cinnamon, Catelyn's last kiss. Like, these are the most beautiful things in the world to Bran, and he's eating his friend.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the sweetness, like we talked about sweetness being deceptive, and I think there is
Yeah.
an element of deception here. I mean, certainly if Bran is unknowingly eaten Jojen, and if Bloodraven has sinister plans for Bran, the sweetness is masking the evil. And, the first time he tastes it, it's bitter, and maybe that's the reality. What it really is bitter, but the sweetness is some kind of illusion, just like the Undying, in the House of the Undying. So we long for the sweetness, but the sweetness can be illusory, which I think is the whole theme of this series, which is about disillusionment.
And maybe all of those other things that he lists as being positive experiences, it's the illusion of nostalgia, right? When Bran remembers New Fallen Snow, like the first chapters of the book are New Fallen Snow, like the tell of the end of summer, and Bran is witnessing his father execute an innocent man. Well, he's morally innocent. And, the last kiss his mother gave him, that's such a tragic thing. Yeah. Because Catelyn is dead. She's dead for, no reason.
It's so positive,
no good reason.
But it's all loss. It's longing. George Martin is all about longing.
It's yearning.
Yearning.
You ever yearn?
I mean, now and then, but I can't yearn like George does.
He's had a lifetime of practice in yearning.
God, can that guy yearn.
It's crazy because this is simultaneously S and F.
Yeah. Yeah. This might kind of be like the ultimate George Martin food
I think it is. I think it we've been building to this one for the whole time.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's not food. It's not even beginning to. It's just using food terms to describe a much larger feeling, an indescribable feeling, an indescribable symphony of feelings. Food is just the language by which George is expressing something deeper. We have to give it an S. Unfortunately,
yeah. Unfortunately, the memory of the last kiss your mother gave you is beautiful and tragic and it's incomparable.
And the loss doesn't make it any less beautiful. It makes it more beautiful. It makes it more important. And that's why A Song of Ice and Fire is not a cynical or pessimistic or nihilistic story. It's a story that celebrates the good. The last kiss his mother ever gave him. God. Are we going to be able to finish this today?
How much more do we have?
I think there's a fair few
Oh, geez. I'm looking at that page count and I'm not liking it.
To go. Yeah, I don't think we can finish this in today's session. My God.
Gosh.
All right. Maybe we'll just do one more food description and then we'll address some donations. And
that sounds good. Yeah, we do have to factor in that we have a lot of donations to get through. Thank you all very much, by the way.
Yeah, we appreciate it. If we don't get to every single one, I'm sorry, but we'll do our best. Daenerys 6 A Dance with Dragons. Resnack says yes, and afterwards there is a special cake.
Special cake for you.
A women's cake, baked only for betrothals. Men are not allowed to taste it. I am told it is delicious. Magical.
That is so fun. But goofy.
Would you like to taste the women's cake, Glidus?
I would love to, but unfortunately, I've been deemed incapable of it.
Yeah. No, I am intrigued.
There's nothing more delicious than something. It's forbidden.
Magic
the forbidden
cake.
Special cake.
I
love that he says the word
women's cake.
He said special.
And this is Resnack Mo Resnack, who's one of the more sort of hardened and cynical characters in the series.
He's telling us about this lovely special cake that you're not allowed to taste.
And this is the way of luring.
And what's lovely about this is George doesn't tell us what's special about it. We just have to take him at his word that it's a special cake.
Yeah, George has never been less descriptive of a cake in his life. You can't just say it's magical. I feel like the fact that the description is so sparse is an indication that this might just be a crock.
Yeah, I mean, is Resnack making this up? There's a special cake that only women can eat.
Like, he's talking to, this 14-year-old girl. What do girls like? How can I convince Daenerys that this marriage is a good thing?
Do you want some fairy floss?
Magic cake from the special kingdom. What a crock. And it's like, Daenerys never mentions tasting the magical cake. So clearly it can't be all that magical.
I love this. This is an S-tier description for me.
S-tier description.
And I love that it's the next food description after Bran eats Jojen.
Right? No, George is on a roll. I mean, he continues. Because then we go into a description of Hizdar zo Lorak's favourite meal, which is dog in honey stuffed with prunes and peppers. So Dolorous Ed would be outraged because this is another stealth prune sneaking in there. I'm not big on eating dog, but this does sound relatively good with the honey and prunes and peppers going on.
If I were ever going to eat dog, it would be this.
I'd have a go. I'm feeling C.
Yeah, sure. Like if I got to eat the magical cake.
if the magical cake is the appetizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm prepared to eat the dog.
And our final food description for today.
It had to be strong Belwas.
Strong Belwas thumped his scarred belly with his fist and swore to eat Brown Ben's heart with plums and onions.
Interesting.
I love that it's a threat, but Belwas has taste.
He thought it through.
He wants it to be tasty.
And that makes it even more threatening that he's actually planned this.
He's going to enjoy it.
He knows how he's going to eat your heart.
This is not a threat. This is a recipe. That's how serious this guy is. This is not the first heart he's eaten. He knows which fruits and vegetables go with human hearts of your enemies.
Prunes.
Prunes, apparently.
Plums and onions.
Plums and onions, yes. No, this sounds wonderful. They hear that revenge is best served cold.
With plums and onions.
With plums and onions. I think there's an A.
It's a human heart.
With plums and onions.
It's a human heart.
Brown Ben Plum, the traitor's heart. He's got Targaryen blood.
Great. It's a human heart.
All right, you've worn me down. B.
And Belwas has not told us that he intends on cooking the heart.
A. All right, B.
Ooh.
All right, you're right. B.
Brown Ben B.
Brown Ben B.
For the record, I disagree with this. It's a human heart and it's an F tier.
The choicest bits of the human heart.
I'm going against my better conscience and saying that this meal with plums and onions is an F tier.
Yes, enlightened pigeon. Maybe the real food description was the human heart in conflict with itself all along. Hell yeah.
We're done with the food time.
Yeah, this concludes the food section of our live stream today. We are now going to do our darndest to
For dessert, here are the super chats.
Yes, for dessert.
We should go from the start of the stream.
Yes. And we remind you that if you would like to make some kind of donation... Oh, I responded to that. These are old. It is better to use the Streamlabs donation link, which is at the top of the video description, rather than the YouTube Super Chat
because
feature.
Neil YouTube is taking your money.
John Tube is taking a generous slice of the Super Chats, so it is better to use the Streamlabs link in the description, but we are grateful regardless.
We're also grateful to Wealth Wolf, who says, all this talk about who's a horse, yet not a peep about who's a foot. I actually did bring up people who were a foot, thank you very much, in the Hidden Horses of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, Glidus has been thorough.
I've done my
I
research.
think you guys should rewatch that video. Thank you, Father Paprika.
Suitable name.
I'm listening to this as the grease from my morning bacon is glistening on my beard. Cheers from the States. Thank you, Father Paprika.
Thank you, Father Paprika.
Thank you,
Geens
Quambit,
That's just so good.
who says, it's the return of Glibod and Schwambo. Huzzah.
Yeah, it occurs to me that we've done a lot of work together this year, but we haven't done one of these streams. We haven't live streamed since January.
It's insane.
It's crazy. I mean, we did play The Binding of Isaac that one time.
On the secret Alt Swift X Games YouTube channel.
Don't tell them about the secret, super special, awesome gaming channel that only women are allowed to taste.
It's magical, I heard. Thank you, Marcelo Deliveria, who says, Theory, Swift is rapidly finishing all his ongoing series because George Martini told him The Winds of Winter is out next week.
Is that why you're finishing? A cock abridged, a sauce abridged, a fuck abridged, and a deadwood with abridged?
A dwog abridged. It's not. I look, as fun as it would be to string this along, I do not want to start any rumors. I do not have any special secret information about the Winds of Winter, and that... I mean, I have said in the past that if the Winds of Winter is announced, I will probably feel like rushing through the rest of God Abridged would be a cool thing to do. But mostly vibes is the reason. Mostly vibes.
Yeah, felt like it.
Felt like it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simco,
Hi, Simgo.
who says, if you ordered 3 corns in Germany, you would probably get 3 shots of corn, which is a type of liquor.
Also a band. Gaines Clan, but once more, says Glibby and Schwoob actually finishing a series is surely an omen for the end times.
Yeah, you might have said that too soon, because we have not finished the series.
But next time,
I thought we might have a shot at because our previous streams covered like entire books or more, didn't
yeah,
they?
but this is a Dance with Dragons.
And A Dance with Dragons is a very long
Very
book.
long, very verbose book.
Yeah. Les, do you think, I mean, that's another interesting question is, does George Martin spend more of his words describing food
Than any
compared
other
to
thing.
everything else as the series goes on? I think that
Interesting.
might be the case.
The
Because
ratio of food descriptions to other things.
Because book 1 and book 2 are pretty tight, and he doesn't waste so many words
Yeah.
on description. So I would hazard a guess that there is just straight up less food description in the early books.
Thank you, Leslie. It is good to see that we are still so back. We are so back.
We are back.
We are back.
I was not informed that we ever left, but we are we are as back as we've
We're
ever been.
back. It doesn't matter if we never left. We're back.
Thank you, Win Richardson, who says, if Thens are greenseers, do they get memories? I don't know what you mean.
I don't really understand the spirit of this question either.
We see in the Game of Thrones show a Then who is a
He's a-
skin changer,
yeah.
whose skin changes into an owl. And I suppose if there are Thens who are skin changers, it's plausible that there are Thens who are greenseers.
And supposedly the Thens are the oldest of the first men.
So yeah, so I guess it's plausible that they have, like, First Men, Old God's blood. And I guess if there can be Then greenseers, they could have access to the memories and the information and the songs and the info that's inside
Yeah.
the Weirwood Old Gods network.
Maybe as the oldest first man culture, the Thens do have access to older knowledge that is lost to the other cultures on the continent.
So maybe in the Winds of Winter there'll be like a Then greenseer who comes down and says, hey,
Ooh.
there's a secret weakness that the Night King has a glowing critical hit location on his patootie, and if you hit that with the Dragonglass dagger, all of the CIS will explode simultaneously. And that's what I call pod racing. Thank you, one
Bullshit
of
line of dialogue. It's so
Swift's
dumb.
bastards, who says, good witching hour, glopus and shit. As alluded to, it's the middle of the night here in the States, and I'm now hungry because of this stream. Which of the meals you just ranked would you recommend for a midnight meal?
Ooh, special cake.
A special magic women's cake. Or the
Last kiss your mother ever gave you.
abstract symphony of yearning. I mean, I've had that.
And for dessert.
I've had both of those things for a midnight meal on occasion.
Yeah,
It's
reach
better
into
than-
the fridge and it's everything your soul has ever wanted. Or a special cake only women can eat.
Either that or a loaf of milk, right? Get
Well,
yourself a loaf of milk.
A slice of the loaf of milk.
sli-
Don't eat the whole loaf.
Not if you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janet Got Panic, who says, what's up, Shrimbledon and Calypso? Am I doing
like
literature right? If A Feast for Crows was made in the climate of the War on Terror, is the Blackfish meant to be Saddam Hussein or something?
You're completely correct.
Thank you, Alt Swift Farrell, who says, Papa fathered me on a Bravosi noblewoman.
Is this true?
You'd have to get a DNA test to verify that.
Okay. I'm on it.
Thank you, Igor, who says, hey there, Schwaft. If you don't continue your Elden Ring series, I will eat George Martin. Love your stuff. And Glidus is okay too.
Yeah, I'm alright.
I have said before that I would like to play Elden Ring because it would be interesting to see what kinds of George Martin fingerprints are in that video game. But I feel like if I was to play Elden Ring, I would also want to play Dark Souls.
Yeah. When approaching those games, I just feel like I want to be more around everything than I could be.
Yeah. Although, I mean, Dark Souls isn't in the same, like, universe as
No,
Elden Ring,
but
is
there's
it?
like a FromSoft ethos.
There's a DNA there.
Yeah.
It'd be like skipping to the later part of a series or an author's work or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you see that Trey the Explainer tweet where he alleges that actually not very much of George Martin made it through into Elden Ring?
Yeah, I've heard conflicting.
Like, I trust
accounts.
Trey, but I've heard reputable sources disagree with him on that.
It's really tricky because there's a lot of like fantasy tropes that are in a lot of things, including
Yeah.
dragons and magic trees and, you know, lots of names that start with G and R and M. Okay, maybe not that last one, but yeah, I don't know. I am curious, but I like next time I have a spare 300 hours, then I'll consider it.
Arcus Thiel says, Glizzo and the Swifter discussing fake food while the world crumbles has been stable for years now, and I love it. Sorry, astable. Thanks for the escapism. Finally, I can hear some appetizing wolf cannibalism.
Hey, Glizzo, what do you find in a stable?
Well, the Swifter.
A horse.
Oh, I was going to say that. Because you asked me a question.
I interrupted because I was a horse.
Doesn't make any sense.
You got to move fast when you're on a horse. Ruth says, was about to go to bed, then I saw Glimber and Schwifaba were streaming.
Schwifaba.
Which place in the ASOIAF verse probably has the best food, would you say?
I mean, there's probably data you could compile on this to answer for us. But what's your vibe?
Some of the descriptions of Dornish food are intriguing. I feel like Illyrio's palanquin has some options.
Too rich.
I mean, the sisters' stew sounded pretty great.
It really did.
But I don't know if I want to go to the sisters.
That duck that Jorah threw at Tyrion, that's pretty good.
Yeah, throw a duck at me. I'm having a good day.
Lady Hornwood's tower is pretty good food.
Yeah, and they deliver. Lud says, when are you guys going to do Sopranos videos? There's a lot of food. Usage of songs are well put. And it's a 86 hour of HBO goodness. More power. Have you seen The Sopranos?
I actually haven't. And so when you have 300 hours free, you're going to play Elden Ring. So you say that The Sopranos is 86 hours long. Game of Thrones is around 73 hours long. But to become well versed in it to the point of like confidently discussing it, it takes a lot longer than that. And I think the same would be true of a drama like The Sopranos as well.
It's pretty difficult to
it's
go
quite
from
the
0
commitment.
to 100.
Yeah.
But I mean, with like, Game of Thrones, there is a...
We don't do anything by halves.
Yeah, we tend to be a bit all or nothing over here at Glizzo and Schwimber's Enterprises. But yeah, I mean, obviously I'd like to see The Sopranos at some point because it's meant to be great.
Yes.
But I'm not like wedded to the HBO brand.
No,
I don't know.
that doesn't matter.
I don't know how it happened. I've spent a lot of time on HBO shows. That's not like a deliberate choice. And HBO's never given me like money or anything. God forbid.
Do you think they owe you?
I mean, if some like, you could cover other stuff as well. I don't know.
The Simpsons.
The Simpsons season 48 explained. That's what my bastard half-grunkle Alt-Shift-X is plotting next, I bet.
Alt-Swift Waters implores you. The small folk in their hunger stormed our castle, ate Castellan Glimbert with a side of beans, and exiled me. I'm sending this raven from a rowing boat floating somewhere on the narrow sea with only crabs to keep me company. Help!
7 hounds.
Alt-Swift Waters, remember your training. Remember what I taught you, son. When you're in a boat full of crabs, the only option is to eat your way out. Get crabby, my son. Eat them crabs, and you'll be great.
Keep it real, your father.
Signed, Schwimbo.
Geens Quambit, once again, says, jellied eels, we already discussed that, when it was relevant. Isn't that great?
Cassie says,
Moving on.
for Wallace and Wooble Manderley. Wooble Manderley's sacrifice.
Good old Wimbledon Wongle Manderley.
Their sacrifice was not in vain. They are the true glubshuitos of... They're so glubshuito that they don't actually exist in the pages of A Song of Ice and Fire, technically. The only way to add these characters to the story is if you write their names into your copy of the book personally. That's the thing. George can't stop you. If all of us just write Wooble Manderley into our copies of A Song of Ice and Fire, they're canon, and George Martin can't say otherwise.
If we all agree to do this, he can't stop us.
If we write enough Wooble Manderley fanfic, Wooble is real in our hearts.
Zepthos says, probably enough to buy a culinary snail somewhere. Thank you for the donation.
People funding our snail habits. Optimum Boots says, do you think George Martin added too many plot lines in his series, and that is why Winds is taking so long? And if so, what plot lines would you get rid of?
Well, yeah, the series certainly exploded in A Feast for Crows. Because
It sure
the Storm
did.
of Swords wound up so many plot lines, it looked like the series was becoming streamlined. But then all of a sudden the fourth book comes out and bang, there's all these new areas with a shitload of POVs that we need to explore.
And another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, George Martin has said this. Like
It really is, and another thing, you're right.
George Martin has said, "Ooh, 7 kingdoms is a lot of kingdoms. Maybe I should have just done 5 kingdoms." And I think he has more or less said that, like, yeah, introducing the Martells of Dawn and the Greyjoys of the Iron Islands sure did complicate things, and maybe he shouldn't have done that.
I mean, he says that, but we're still yet to have, like, an actual Reach plot line. We're still yet to go to Casterly Rock.
Which are things that he has also promised will happen. So I think the short answer is yes, George, absolutely. The fact that, too many is subjective. And of course, there are lots of wonderful things about those plot lines. But it obviously is true that George Martin adding more plot lines and more complexity to the stories is part of why that story is not finished. For sure. I think that's true.
Kazumi the Third says, "Finally, I catch you live. Thanks for all your videos. Your Hot D series was my savior in my wisdom teeth removal operation."
Oh my god.
Gnarly.
Were you removing them yourself, or did you have help from a friend?
It sounds like Daemon Targaryen did it.
Nothing like covering the sound of a drill while hearing Daemon tripping balls. Aw, thank you, Kazumi.
Thank you very much.
That's kind of surreal to imagine someone having their teeth extracted while listening to us talk about Daemon. That's quite
I'm sure
funny.
people have done even sillier things while listening to us.
Tweet us or blue Skype us. Blue Skype? Is it blue Skype?
DM me on Skype.
Disqueet us.
Message me on AOL.
Send us a carrier pigeon saying the oddest thing that you've done while listening to a Schwizzo and Glybo stream.
Genuinely in my head, carrier pigeons are less archaic than AOL.
Yeah, they feel like a more recent invention.
Exactly. Will says, "I can confirm that much of this food is delicious. I've made a couple of the S-tier food, like the sister stew and a stuffed pork belly dish that some smarmy lord ordered. Any other suggestions?
Is Will in Westeros?
Or England?
I would like to go to wherever Will is cooking." Clipped says, "Happy to catch a stream. What are your favorite pizza toppings?" I think that a nice, simple, but like well done margarita can be a really good time. However, I do tend towards the pile on a million different ingredients school of thought pizza-wise. I do enjoy pineapple and capsicum and olives and everything else under the sun. I had a very good 4-cheese pizza once, actually.
Oh yeah, those are good.
So yeah, I mean, I'm down with kind of whatever, like the more the merrier pizza-wise.
I mean, I say in my quander even that the first thing I try at a pizza place is their margarita, because that tells me if they can make a pizza right or not. But after that, I'm quite patriotic in this regard and this regard alone. I like an Aussie pizza, which is like a ham and cheese but with egg as well.
Yeah, put an egg on it. Why not?
Yeah, screw it. Nothing else in this country is serious. Let's put egg on our pizza.
Put a loaf of milk on it.
Yeah. Well, most pizza does have milk loaf.
Don't start. Not a whole loaf. Not a whole...
Sometimes.
If it's in wheel form, it's not a loaf. A wheel is not a loaf.
Isn't that a bun? Like a wheel of bread?
Bun is...
So it's a bun of milk.
But if it's a fish...
Milk bun.
Okay, alright, we're not getting into this again. Alt Swift Sand, my bastard son, says, "Father, my merchant wagon was set upon by bandits in the Red Mountains. There is an outlaw naming himself the new Vulture King. Please send a chest of dragons for my ransom."
A whole chest of you have lots of sons.
Yes.
I think that's not worth it.
I'll send a chest of...
Sire, I recommend you do not pay this ransom.
Well, you've always given me good counsel, Grimmer Wormtongue, so I'll have to accede to your advice. I will send
wise, sire.
a bucket of shillings in your direction, Alt Shrift Sand, and I believe in your capacity to fight off this Vulture King.
Tricerathops says, "How are the Wrigley's human flesh bubblegum negotiations going? We start a lot of businesses in these streams."
Yeah, that sounds like something that we would have said.
Oh no, I remember it virulently.
Did you contact Mr. Wrigley?
No, I think he's dead.
Well, we better dig him up.
And turn him into bubblegum.
I'll get the... Wouldn't it be poetic if we used Mr. Wrigley's corpse as the first taste run of our human
I
flesh
think
bubble
that's
gum.
what everyone wants.
Yeah, no, it's poetry. That's perfect.
Margarita Gomez says, "Love you guys. That's so nice. Thank you."
Conch says food.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Rachel Katrin says my two favorite YouTubers.
Oh, thank you. Pneumocitis carinii says, "What should I cook for lunch? Greetings from Germany."
You should cook a duck the size of a dwarf.
Sorry, that's pneumocystis. I'll see myself out. What did you say?
A duck the size of a dwarf.
Ah, very good.
Thank you, Tony Manic, who says, love these streams. Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Molly says, Season 8 ASL dub with an interpreter in the corner would be lit.
We should like a sign language interpreter.
That would be cool.
I'll hire one. Rachel Katrine says, my two favorite YouTubers. What's your biggest theory disagreement?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I tend to bang the drum about the Great Empire and the Bloodstone Emperor and the Blackstone a bit more than you do.
Yes, I respect the thematic relevance of all of that, the paralleling of how it's relevant to other characters in the current story, but I think like physically, elementally,
yeah,
the elements of it aren't necessary for the story to play out.
Where do you land on the identity of Cold Hands and of the Hooded Man?
I really love that the Night's King is Cold Hands. I think that's my favorite of the many theories.
It's
and I don't
there.
have any strong opinions about the Hooded Man, honestly. Like, it's so confounded that I don't really have anywhere to stand.
The Hooded Man to me is one of the most genuinely
Baffling?
Yeah, it is baffling. And yeah, Cold Hands I think is also quite baffling because I think like the Night's King being Cold Hands is pretty out there.
It is out. I will admit that, but I'm taken by it.
Yeah. No, I won't yuck your yum. I don't think it's likely to be the answer.
No, probably not.
I really don't have a good answer on who Cold Hands is. Like, I honestly really do think Cold Hands being Benjen is a pretty good answer.
I mean, it's the most logical answer to the question, but apparently the man said no.
Yeah, on that manuscript, supposedly George wrote no. So
what if that's just a red herring? What if he's lying to our face again?
What if that Redditor who posted that image just
Made it the fuck
defaced
up?
the manuscript and wrote no on themselves?
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh boy. Thank you, General Grievous, who says, Hi, Glidus. A while back, by popular demand from the official Glidus subreddit, I made the alt schwickie that follows the story of your bastards. I wanted to share with you guys and anyone that wants to follow that insane story. Thanks for everything.
Well, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah, thank you, General Grievous. That's lovely. Thank you for doing this. We'll have to check it out.
Now the general public is aware. That's how you reach the general public, is through this stream.
I did, yeah. This is a representative sample of the world. Our audience.
This is the tribal assembly of the Roman Republic right here.
This is the Entmoot. This is the Snail Council. There was another Altschrift X wiki that was lovely, that had some fascinating details on my prehistoric history, which I think has now been deleted.
Really?
Yeah, I think it got deleted. I don't know why, but I just chalk it down to another reason to dislike fandom / wiki.
Oh, it was a fandom wiki?
It was a fandom.
Those
wiki,
things suck.
wiki. A lot of ads on those. But yeah.
I'm very glad that the Ice and Fire wiki is not associated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice that it's an independent thing. I like independent sites, and I'm not a big fan of the big corporate wikis. But I am a huge fan of individual nerds doing cool, creative things for our collective joy.
Sometimes those big, nasty corporations make it easier for individual nerds to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the big, nasty Google corporation.
Exactly.
So let's not bite the hands that feed us, even if they are delicious.
Yummy hands.
Biting the hand that feeds you? S tier.
Best season ever!
We do need a positive soundbite.
SLID 6D4AF1C373013DE8 says, Father, we have managed to retake the river. Oh, did you know Darkstar was Roose Bolton's firstborn son? Whoa, talk about a shocker. Anyway, back to war.
I love that mindset. Anyway, off to war.
This is such a chipper letter.
Yeah.
I think that Altschrift Rivers should really learn from your positive attitude, SLID 6D4AF1C373013DE8.
Don't say the whole thing again.
13DE8.
Wildman says, smegma cakes are always forgotten.
7 hells.
What do you mean? What is that referring to?
I'm not even like, I'm not upset by, I mean, I'm a bit upset. I'm a bit upset by the term smegma-cakes, but I'm actually more upset by the context or lack thereof.
Yeah, like-
What do you mean they're
What do
always
you
forgotten?
mean?
What do you mean
We're
by
always
that?
talking about smegma-cakes.
Well, there is an appropriate number of times to talk about smegma-cakes.
And it
We're-
has already
we're
been
far
far
beyond
surpassed.
Margarita Gomez
We like to have
says,
fun here.
Glidus, my YouTube Wrapped has
Hello.
just informed me that One Night in Bravos is the song I listened to the most this year. Keep up the good work.
Fitting.
Glidus, where can people listen to your original covers and remixes of various songs?
Over on the Glidus YouTube channel. We are working on getting them up on other platforms at some point.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And maybe someone else's music is going to be up on other platforms soon also. I don't know.
I think it would be pretty generous to call the Tyrion rap music, but okay. Molly.
The Jon Snow rap is a fucking masterpiece.
Yes, well, your contributions are what elevated that particular
No, I
masterpiece.
think you spat some bars on that one.
All right. Molly says, it's so important to know if it's an astringent persimmon or a non-astringent persimmon.
True.
The latter is my favorite fruit of all time. The former is the devil. Have you ever eaten an astringent persimmon?
I don't think I have, no.
Yeah, someone in the chat says, Molly in the chat says that No Surprises is the favorite.
That was also
of
your
covers.
favorite
It
of
was
my
also
covers.
your No Surprises was strong stuff.
Thank you.
Rachel Katrin says, insane to be at part 6 for food descriptions only.
You
though.
do it faster, Rachel, okay? Huh? I'd like to see you do it.
No, I don't think anyone...
No, I don't challenge you.
Anyone would have predicted or chosen for us to have been doing food descriptions as our most ongoing, prolonged series
Yeah.
of all time. And that kind of makes me happier that we're doing it.
Yeah. Character rankings? Nah. Theories? Nah.
Food.
Alignments? Nah.
Hell yeah.
It's such an
Titos-
interesting way to talk about the series that no one's ever done before.
It genuinely provides insight into what's going on in this text, and just the lovely writing going on here. It's not. It's so much more than just a list or just.
Yeah. It's an experience.
It's great.
It's a meal.
It's greater than the.
It's a buffet.
Just like cooking itself, the ingredients are. The meal is more than the sum of its parts. It's not just the ingredients; it comes together to form something greater. Writing, cooking, creativity. That's what we like here. That's what we like.
Yeah. Titos Drip Cape, true, says, love the streams, keep it up. Hot D spoiler theory, everyone plug your ears. Laris walks into his clubfoot after the dance. How strong survives as a magic prosthetic leg?
Huh. I thought that the clubfoot was burned. So Laris might just suffer an even worse second death. That might
That
backfire.
foot is fit for a king.
Or maybe there's a prophecy written on Laris's clubfoot as well.
Ah, yeah.
Thank you, Amin Hosenstall, who says, Schlick and Glorty,
I don't
finishing
like
the
that.
beloved food series.
Nope.
I must be dreaming.
You are.
Have you guys read the Westeros cookbook? Yeah, I think you might be talking to the world's upcoming foremost expert on the official
dearie
Westeros
me.
cookbook.
Oh, we've got some plans.
Are you going to reveal any plans as yet?
No.
Things are afoot. Much like Laris, things are afoot.
Raven says, would Crowfoot's dragon glass eye stop him being reanimated?
I'm going to say no.
I'm also going to say no. I don't really think the eye is requisite. Do you think those blind fish could be reanimated by the dead, by the Night King, by
I
the
don't
White
think
Walkers?
that'd be very useful. They haven't got thumbs, you see.
Yeah, but could they? It's not a get the utilitarianism out of your head and just entertain the hypothetical. Would you?
If bears and ravens can be resurrected, I don't see why fish could not. But I mean, how small does it go? I mean, could a tardigrade be controlled by the Night King?
I think that might be his secret weapon.
Could a bacteria or virus be controlled by the White Walkers? Surely not.
Virus is a tough one to call. Because
Taxonomically speaking.
yeah, the science on whether or not they are a living thing is unsettled.
So in the books, Sam tries to stab a zombie, Small Paul, and he stabs him with the dragonglass blade, and the dragonglass blade shatters because it just breaks on Small Paul's chainmail. So it shows that you don't just touch a wight with dragonglass and it dies. You have to actually pierce the flesh with the dragonglass blade.
And Crowfood's eye is just sitting in his eye socket, right?
Yeah, it's not like piercing the flesh
Yeah.
as such. It's not being used as a weapon, so I feel like it would not... I mean, maybe it would, like, hurt the zombie?
Yeah, maybe it'd be in constant pain. I mean, but aren't the zombies... what is their relationship with pain to begin with?
It's like is it the elven rope and the elven cape and the elven materials that hurt like orcs and things in Lord of the Rings? Maybe it's like that. Like it, I feel like it might be a bad time, but like it's a zombie. It doesn't feel pain, so yeah, I don't think that Crowfood's dragonglass eye would stop him being reanimated.
Brain Boy Ben says, I'm looking forward to listening to this when I go to sleep every night for the next 2 weeks. Z's in the chat.
Z.
They are Z's here. Thank you very much.
Theo Rooney says, based on my extensive research, there are 10 zones of connection between Noam Chomsky and Essos on Wikipedia.
What does this mean?
You're welcome. Well, it's like degrees of separation.
Yeah. Zones of connection.
P.S. How did it feel knowing you were within a short distance of the actual Winds of Winter manuscript? Love your work.
It felt like we should have executed an Ocean's 11 style heist.
We were so close and yet so far. Yeah, well, I don't have a floppy disk reader, so I don't think having the manuscript.
Yeah, I don't know how to operate WordStar.
I do think it's really funny though that when George Martin appeared, like a photo of him appeared on that talk show.
I mean, last week's tonight.
Yeah, and there was like actually a chapter of the Winds of Winter visible on screen of his computer.
That was like
and
unreleased.
So, like, that's crazy. Like that actually happened.
Yeah.
Like it feels like if you actually just like had a chat with George Martin in his office, like you would probably see a page of the Winds of Winter on his computer. It's like, oh, new preview chapter, new thing for everyone to study over for the next 10 years.
Because I walked in to ask if he wanted a drink or something.
Would you like another Diet Coke, George? Oh, that happens to Tyrion? Surely not. And then Hot Pie ate a whole loaf of milk? No.
Idam, the Slovak guy, says, what do you think about the theory that in the end Sansa will eat Littlefinger using her warging abilities?
I think there's merit.
Have you heard this theory before?
I've never heard that theory before, but I think there's merit in that because it would be Sansa embracing her Stark identity and
that would be
rejecting
cool.
all the BS.
What is she going to warg? Lady's
Arya.
dead. Sansa's going to warg Arya to eat a Littlefinger.
That's my theory.
That should have happened in Game of Thrones.
That'd be fucking fantastic.
I'd love to see Maisie Williams just going to town on Aidan Gillen's slowly coldening corpse.
Thank you, Matteo, who says love from Italy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zalachi, who says, I don't care if it's a whole stream, but yo should fancast uncasted roles in the Dragon Show. I can't get Matt Berry as Marwyn the Mage out of my head.
And why do you think that the Maesters started that war?
Gallant dragon
I have to
go! Yeah, I like
Come
that
along!
Thank you, Curry Aficionado,
Periscope.
who says, do you plan on reading Berserk?
That's another, like, 400 hours to... But because we are infected with this dastardly brainworm, which says that everything we do needs to be justified in the form of content creation.
Yeah.
So if I read Berserk, it has to be because I plan on making a video or something. And to do that, I would have to invest all the time in the world to understanding it as well as the best people at understanding Berserk on the world. So I don't know if I'm ever going to do that. I can't enjoy media anymore.
Yeah.
Now that talking about it is my job.
Yeah. It's,
Whoops.
It's not ideal. If you're considering being a YouTuber, maybe reconsider. I mean, look, I have nothing but gratitude and good vibes, and I do love all of this. However, it does change your relationship with books and shows and games if dissecting books and shows and games.
Changing your relationship with those things changes your relationship with people, because this is what people talk about.
Yeah.
And I miss out on like the current hot TV shows and games because I'm too busy still thinking about House of the Dragon Season 1 to have played anything or have watched anything.
I mean, the sensible thing to do is to extract the brainworm and just watch and read things in a chill way, and it's possible.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is just in my head, but
to answer your completely innocent question, I don't think I've ever read a manga. I mean, I've read some like Junji Ito, but I don't think I've read any manga other than Junji Ito.
You haven't read Akira?
No.
Oh my god.
No. Berserk is tricky because it's another unfinished series. I don't want to like get invested in another unfinished series because the author of Berserk died, right?
Yes.
So that's not ideal. I did watch like one episode of the Berserk anime that was kind of cool.
That's another one. It's like Ice and Fire in that it's a sprawling franchise with no clear beginning or end, and you have to follow a flowchart to know what to watch or listen to or read.
Yeah. I did recently watch the first couple of episodes of Attack on Titan for the first time. That was cool. Unfortunately, I think I've seen a little bit of Attack on Titan spoilers, but I did enjoy watching the first 2 episodes, and I reckon I'll probably get around to watching the rest of it.
Yeah, I liked the first season when I watched it, and then I just, for some reason, stopped watching it.
Oh, well, we should both watch it and then do a stream about
it. We've got to turn it into content, so
wow.
yeah.
See? It just
Look
happened.
In real time.
We just did the brainworm.
This is disgusting.
Spee says, first got abridged, now this. Is it Christmas already?
It is Christmas today. Merry Christmas.
Around here we call it Schwiftmas. Thank you, Kermit Tully, who says, hi, Glimflint and Altshaft XXX.
Wow.
Glad I woke up in time to catch you two stream. Been awaiting new content so much from you two, I watched the fake Jon Snow twice.
Rookie.
Have either of you read the Hunger Games series?
Have you read the Hunger Games?
No.
That was the period where I was out of YA fiction.
Yeah. I had a fun revisit of YA fiction. I read the Gone series, which is about a bunch of children stuck in a dome in California. And
I like a good dome story.
Some of them develop superpowers. And I think there is a bit of a Hunger Game similarity.
Right.
Gone and Hunger Games. I did watch the first couple of Hunger Games movies recently, which was fun. But I've not read the Hunger Games books, no.
Right. In this discussion about YA fiction, I don't know if I ever finished Artemis Fowl.
Whoa. Well, no, neither have I,
the last
actually.
books.
I get the sense that Artemis Fowl sort of jumped the shark.
Yeah.
They started introducing like the demon monsters or something.
Yeah.
And I think Owen Colfer is still writing. There's like Artemis Fowl twins adventures or something going on at the moment.
Who has the time?
Yeah.
Children, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope that they're taking breaks from Roblox to read some Artemis Fowl. Because I loved those first few books very much.
Still do. Very
much. Thank you, Dweeho Ho and Anja Smara, who says, what happened between you and Custard? Yeah, it's a long story to be told in the darkest, quietest nights, in only under special circumstances with trained professionals on hand. I do not speak of Custard lightly, and the time may come for me to speak about my Custard incident, but that time has not yet come. Thank you, Dweeho Kaiho and Jasmara.
Lars says, Lars moment.
Erty says, get Erty.
Fantastic. What a great use of $8.
Consider us Ertied.
Based on what Alt says, it's so hot my skin is melting off.
I love going back and reading super chats out of context.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, that could just be about the weather at wherever this person is.
Doge posting says, love your work. Do either of you have a favorite quote from the books? Mine is no chance and no choice.
That's a pretty good one. Mine is the special cake.
Yeah, it's my new favorite. The one that I keep coming back to is it all goes back and back to our fathers and our fathers' fathers dancing on the strings of those who came before. I think I'm paraphrasing it, but that captures so much of the essence of A Song of Ice and Fire to me, the intergenerational trauma, conflict, the way that we are shaped by our parents, the way we repeat our parents' mistakes and make our children in our own malformed image. It's just shockingly beautiful, and I love it.
I'm partial to the only time a man can be brave is when he is afraid.
Mm.
It's one of the early ones that caught me in the series, you know.
Jukebox Junkie 1000 says, has haggis or a similar dish made of offal ever appeared in ASOIAF?
I'm pretty sure something like that showed up.
There's been like blood sausagey
Yeah.
stuff going on. Black so yeah, I think
I don't think the word haggis was used though.
Scotland has not yet emerged in the world of Ice and Fire.
John 12,494 says, where do you guys think Jamie's story is going in the books? Do you think he'll be redeemed, or will he fail in his attempts to reinvent himself into a better person? This strikes at the core issue, the core issues at hand in the series, right?
Yeah, is redemption possible? What does it mean to be redeemed?
Yeah. Or is Jamie returning to love actually where his story should go?
I don't think he's gonna like bang Brienne and then dump her he did in the show.
That doesn't seem right.
I think that Jamie will die killing Cersei, and I think that kind of like killing Aerys, it's gonna be like the worst and best thing he ever did.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a very like tragic, morally complicated thing that people are gonna have different feelings about. Some people are going to feel like it makes Jamie a monster. Some people are going to feel like it makes Jamie a hero. I think Jamie himself will feel both of those things.
Yep.
In the show, they took away the edge. Jamie wasn't killing Cersei. He was just embracing Cersei while they died together, which did have a tragedy to it. But I think that...
It was sort of a flaccid action on his part, though. Like, he wasn't actually doing anything.
Yeah, it was just like...
Him being there didn't affect anything.
Guess I'll die, bricks. Guess I'll die to bricks. Whereas I think that...
Although it does speak to, like, you know, what's the point of me being alive if Cersei's dead? Like, that's what it's getting at, right?
Yeah, I think there is some poetry in it, in the show. But I think that all the Valancourt stuff in the books indicates that Jamie's going to choke Cersei to death. So I think that's how it's going to pay off. And I think it's going to feel messed up and... right and wrong and all of those things at once, just like the Lannister twins have always felt. Thanks for the generous donation from Yemley.
Yeah, my goodness, thank you.
Who says, first time ever catching you both live. Your collabs are the fat pink masts of A Song of Ice and Fire content, but in a good way.
Okay.
Any thoughts on why Robert is said to be still abed in Tyrion 1? Are we talking about Tyrion 1 of Game of Thrones?
Yeah, must be.
Is Tyrion...
Where Tyrion wakes up and they're at Winterfell and he has breakfast with his siblings and Robert's still abed.
Well, because Robert drinks hard.
Yeah, that must be it.
And is lazy.
And he transforms into a bed.
Yeah.
When
he
he's
does that as
hungover.
well.
Yeah.
Top 5 beds of A Song of Ice and Fire.
Do you not when you're hungover? Anyway, I hope that was worth your £100. Hoyd says...
Was that 100? Jesus.
Hoyd says, geez, I'm being called sexy.
Glidus is blushing because he's being called sexy.
I'm extraordinarily sunburnt. That's what that is.
Hoyd says, "You're sexy, Glidus.
Okay.
Your voice soothes, Swift." Thanks, Hoyd. Glad you enjoy.
Razguana Barnes that says,
"Oh, that's a good name."
Do you think WoW will come out with nutritional information? What would the kcal per chapter be, I wonder? Well, paper is made from wood pulp, which doesn't have much nutritional value. It's mostly just non-dietary fiber.
Important distinction.
They use bleach to whiten the pages. There's glue to keep the pages in place. Honestly, very little. Very little.
Ingredients: trees, bleach,
ink,
words. Just Another Bastard
Feelings.
says, we recently saw the luscious hair of IRL Glimby. Swift, when can we see your face?
Again, I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't actually have a face.
I keep trying to do a face reveal, but like my face doesn't seem to like pick up in the cameras. I did got bitten by that like pale Eastern European man that I mentioned before, so I'm starting to think that I might actually be some kind of living dead. My abs have gotten all sparkly lately, so I think that might relate to the fact that I can't be photographed. I'm also concerned that the camera might steal my soul, and I can't have that happen again, because it is a bastard trying to get your soul back from the Kodak Corporation. Here I am to tell you. Tell me you that. Huh.
I'm a fan of the way you said photograph. That's good.
Thank you. Dunbus says, thanks, Glandel and Shingle. These...
God damn it.
Yeah,
That was the simplest bullshit.
I keep breezing through these because it's more funny when I just say them dry.
Yeah.
But please know, I am giggling so hard internally at every one of these Glidus and Swift nicknames you'll come up with. They're actually amazing. Like, I'm actually shocked by how many different creative ones you'll
Yeah.
make. We need to do a live stream ranking of them.
It's an endless template.
Endless source of joy. These streams are my favorite part of the fan community. Thank you so much.
Honestly,
says
it
Dunbus.
might be mine as well. I love doing this. Arcus Thiel says, back again after a terrible Zoom meeting and the guys are still going. Mad lads. Also, props for that perfect imitation of Jackie Dayton from Tucson, Arizona.
Thank you, Raven, who says, he's in the room with me. Raven says, will John begin to forget things like Beric did? I think it'd be funny if he just forgets that his name is John and he just thinks that he's Ghost and he just behaves like a dog and he just starts like sniffing Bowen Marsh's bum because he thinks that he's Ghost. I think that John is only an interesting character if he still is John in most ways that matter, but I think that he will be at risk of losing his humanity, and I think that he will have to fight to retain his humanity.
Yeah. Ghost will, like, amplify the basal animal primal parts of him.
Yeah, I do think that...
And he has to rage against that dying of the light and claw back to his humanity.
Hell yeah. I think it will leave a permanent mark in some way. But yeah, the fact that John's soul may be in his direwolf ghost instead of just being killed entirely might mean that John might not have to be in as wretched a state as Beric and
Stoneheart,
Catelyn are,
yeah.
because they did not have the benefit of having a fluffy little solar receptacle, so that might be part of it.
Dowdor says, thank you for all the hours of amazing content. You're a couple of good eggs.
I've always thought of myself as a good egg.
What sort of egg would you like? Are you over easy? Are you hard boiled? Are you served with a melon confusingly?
Yeah, it's a melon and a basket of eggs for me. I was thinking an ostrich egg is like the
they're
kind
cool.
of egg I would like.
I really like how emu eggs are blue.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's cool. Have you ever eaten one?
No.
I would like to be a moa egg.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you, name coming soon, who says, "Hey Jay Schwaft and Great Glimbino, any books/stories that haven't been adapted yet that you hope get adapted, and any casting or director choices for it?" Redwall. Redwall.
That'd be so cool to see, wouldn't it?
I mean, I would watch the YA Gone series get adapted. That'd be cool. I mean, God Emperor of Dune would be pretty sweet to see adapted. Heretics and Chapter House. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Villeneuve isn't going to do that, is he?
No, he hasn't got the brass tacks for it.
This is going to be a really annoying answer, but I'd love to see A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons adapted.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Jordan Herstig says, food is good. I like food. Oris the Third is best king. Come blasters for life. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you.
Based on what alt says, rank the 4 upcoming battles in wins on your anticipation level, please. Alt, Shift or C, and Gildo Gaggins.
Okay, so the 4 will be the Battle of Ice at Winterfell, the Battle of Fire at Meereen, the Battle of Blood in Old Town, and the Battle of Steel in Storm's End, or near Storm's End.
For me, it's Battle of Ice, then Battle of Blood, then Battle of Fire, then Battle of Steel.
Yeah.
Because the Battle of Ice has so many important characters involved. It has so much mystery involved. I genuinely, I don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of ways it could play out. I think Stannis will sneak in and win with the help of Mance, and Theon might be saved from execution, and Wyman Manderly's probably going to die, and there's a lot going on there. So I'm very keen for that.
Yeah, and the implications of anything that happens in that battle are world-changing.
Yeah, it's Winterfell.
And then the Battle of Blood is just the most kick-ass, apocalyptic nonsense that George is promising.
Yeah, I mean, the Battle of Blood I'm very hyped for, but we don't even really know for
Yeah.
certain that there's going to be a battle
Yeah, and
necessarily.
like, are we gonna see any of it?
Yeah, it's entirely
Who
possible.
are the POVs there? Aaron Greyjoy and Sam Tarly. Neither of them are going to be involved.
Well, Sam Tarly's in Old Town. The boats are out in the
Yeah,
water. Like,
yeah. But there's a massive tower that
yeah.
he could be up somehow. I don't know.
I think stuff's gonna happen, but like it's all very speculative what will happen. So I am hyped for the prospect of some kind of Euron blood sacrifice apocalypse, but we really don't have any idea if that's even gonna happen.
Maybe it's the
really.
sort of event that we'll hear about in some other disconnected POV, like hard home, dead things in the water. You know,
Yeah.
like that sort of chilling description that can only work if you're not there to see it.
Yeah, it's a sort of magical thing that is better the less description
Yes.
it has, you know? Like, I think that magic will come to the fore more in the coming books, but I still think that to retain a sense of mystery and magic, it's better to be subtle rather than to over-explain things.
Yerp.
But will we see an army of squishers marching into Old Town?
Yes.
Maybe.
Will we see a dragon making sweet, sweet love to a kraken?
It's a possibility. Thank you, Bally, who says, Swifty's been streaming a lot more lately, which can only mean he knows something we don't know about wins,
God damn
or
it.
he's spent all his money on hooker, cocaine, and feet pics from Glimbly Gloomus. Love the streams, keep up the good work. XOX. Yeah, look, if there's one thing less predictable than the weather, it's when AltShiftX will stream Game of Thrones Abridged
That's
on YouTube.net. Got to keep your guessing.
The poly market on that is all over the place.
It is. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Alt Swift Stone says, Father / Glim Turbulic, what's your favorite Pokemon? Cars video, oh my god. Your vids keep me entertained on my way to Old Town to meet Euron in battle.
Uh-oh.
Artemis Fowl is done, and yes, Rick Folk ate mummies in real life as medicine. You mean, Rich Folk.
This is
That is true, yes.
information-dense super chat.
You have made the most of your 14 Canadian dollars.
That is a novel of a super chat.
Favorite Pokemon?
I struggle with that.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I've sort of got...
There's at least 70 of them to choose from.
It's definitely like a original 150 Kanto situation.
You're
for
into
me.
Execute, are you?
Execute's not my favorite.
Zubat.
I mean,
Oddish.
I hate to be a lame, but just
Licky
like
Tongue.
Charizard as a starter is a good time, and I like Charizard. I mean, Gengar's cool. No
Gengar's
denying that
very
Gengar is
cool.
cool.
Very cool.
But yeah, I don't know. I've got fondness for all of the original 150 Kanto. Difficult for me to
Even
choose
Seal and
favorites.
Dugong.
Less so.
Goldeen
so.
and Seaking.
Goldeen and Seeking not so much.
That's what I thought.
Tangela, what's going on with Tangela, huh?
He's a bushy guy.
So what kind of fuel do the cars in Cars use?
They drink Prime.
Do they?
Yeah.
I thought they had Brondo because that's what plants crave.
Oh, I see. Think I should make a retrospective video essay on the Cars trilogy? Do you think that'd be fire?
I would watch it.
Yeah.
The fake Cars.
I don't know if that name really carries.
Thank you, Dunbass, who says, I used Brienne and her failed Knight's Quest as an example of a trope being inverted to my university teacher, and she gave me an A because she liked her.
True.
Cool.
Nice.
Good job, Dunbass. Thank you, First Synapse, who says, do you think some Valyrian Dragon Rider blood other than Targaryen still exists in some unknown descendants? Could that explain why Nettles can ride dragons?
I suppose it's possible, but I don't hope that that's the explanation for that.
Have you ever seen a family tree?
Yeah, I have, actually.
Those things go out, broad,
Yeah,
all
I
over
feel
the
like
place.
tree is actually an incorrect moniker for that sort of diagram. Trees don't typically look like that.
You know how they say that like half the people in Eurasia are descended from Genghis Khan?
Well, that's not true.
I know, but it's a nice idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a nice piece of misinformation to say. I feel like I mean, how long were the Valyrians in charge? Was it hundreds of years or
Yeah.
thousands of years?
A
It was a while. I feel
little bit.
And you know, don't tell me, like, I mean, some of them were practicing incest and whatever, but
Yeah, but the dragon seeds on Dragonstone are an indication that the dragon riding blood, it could be like all over Essos.
Yeah, and there were like dozens of dragon riding families in
Yep.
Valyria for centuries. So
And they were
yeah.
in the colonies as well, in the
Yeah.
free cities.
Yeah, so I think it's very, very, very likely
They're just
that
Lyseni
there are lots of
randoms.
people all over the world who have a little bit of dragon blood, and there's a lot of ambiguity around like how much dragon blood do you need? Does it even matter? But
Or
yeah,
you're just supposed to give the things a bit of pork and they'll like you.
maybe, and I think that that's something that George might just keep ambiguous forever.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we need to accept that George loves mystery and he's never going to tell you everything.
And if you look at George Martin's other endings,
Yeah, they're all
they're all
loose,
ambiguous.
vague, ambiguous.
George has never answered every mystery definitively in a big story.
And
so.
that's a good thing, I think. I think that A Song for Leah would be a much weaker story if it ended with a concrete explanation of what happened.
Because good art asks questions. It's not all about answers. Thank you, Jez, who says, thoughts on the theory that once Jaime gets to Lady Stoneheart, he will get his right hand back through fire magic and Thoros' sacrifice of sorts.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of undoes the weight of his loss if he just gets it
It's like,
back.
imagine, what if Ned got resurrected? It's
And
like,
we-
no, we paid prices to be in the places we are.
And we've already got Victarion with his volcano arm.
Yeah. I mean, it would be completely epic if Jaime and Victarion had to duel each other with their volcano arms, don't get me wrong.
Or just an arm wrestle.
But we can't, like, you can theorize on what would be epic, but we have to consider more than just that.
Thank you, Smashed Avo, who says, thanks for a pick-me-up after a long day of grading. Lots of love to y'all and the rest of the hashtag Swifty Squad. Cheers.
Keep it real.
Yeah, Smashed Avo.
Dwaihoho Kaio Anjasmara says, sorry I asked about custard. I won't ask it again.
Apology accepted.
Apology accepted. Molly once more says, thanks for the amazing stream, old Scullen Whiffed and Glidus. It was so nice to be here.
Thank you, Tomfy, who says, hi, Gleminem and Dr. Schwer.
Oh my god.
Any upcoming rap projects cooking?
That's awesome.
There are no Alt Swift X rap projects cooking currently, I would say. But I think my pattern is that whenever my scurrilous, uptight nemesis Alt Shift X releases a big video, I always like to steal his thunder by doing a much cooler, much more concise rap to undercut whatever video essay Shift has just put out. So I think I'll probably continue to do that just to annoy Shift.
And it's very fun for me, having worked on the Alt Shift X video, to then join hands with his underrated facsimile person.
How does Alt Shift X feel about that? You're playing both sides, working with both Alt Shift X and Alt Shift X.
It's sort of a don't mention the war thing between us.
Yeah, it sounds like a delicate balance.
Perhaps it will explode in years to come.
Thank you, Gokhan and Demercy, who says, hi, Galticus and... Hi, Galtius Maximus and Alt Sphincter X.
That's right.
I say that with love, but I know that's true because I can listen to a 3-hour David Lightbringer podcast, but I can easily devour a 3-hour one of yours. Thank you, Gokhan.
I believe that's a can't listen to a 3-hour David Lightbringer podcast.
Who are you calling a can't? Thank you, Nell, who says, thank you guys for all the amazing content. What do you think HBO will do after they run out of existing Dunk and Egg books to adapt? Do you think they'll consult George, like with GOT?
Well, they tried to make all sorts of series that weren't based on the books, like that Blood Moon pilot and, an animated story about E.T. So I don't think that they necessarily need finished... well, none of the books are finished. Published stories to adapt.
Did they consult George with Game of Thrones?
That's a great question.
George has said publicly that he was largely out of the loop by the later seasons of Game of Thrones.
And it very much sounds like that is also the case in House of the Dragon by this point.
Yes. So I don't think HBO does feel the need to consult George. It might be that he's difficult to work with. I mean, someone who is in love with their universe and in love with their books.
He might be uncompromising.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time creatives have struggled to work with Hollywood.
George worked in TV for a long time, but he was never the showrunner of anything. I don't know if he's There's nothing to be gained from speculating.
Well, I mean, George has written in Dream Songs that he was constantly frustrated with his scripts being cut down and butchered by these Hollywood TV people, and that's why
here we are.
He made his own world with blackjack and hookers, which now ironically is being made into TV.
He
so
sold to Hollywood producers.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It is a very difficult thing to do, I think.
I sympathize with him, of course.
Yeah, of course.
That's got to be annoying.
Thank you, Readalus, who says, Happy morning/evening, Glitterous and Shazv.
Oh, I don't like that.
Do you guys plan on doing a fake Tyrion Lannister video in the same way you did the fake Jon Snow or Nebula? Love your content. Sorry if you've answered this before.
That's all right. Not everyone can keep up with every word we've said, even though that would be the true thing in a just world.
Yeah. Why would you not be listening to every one of our 3-hour streams?
It's true.
And taking notes. Please don't take notes.
Are we going to... Please don't record any of this. Please forget that this happened. Are we going to do a fake Tyrion Lannister?
I don't know. I think that if we were to embark on so epic an odyssey again, it would need to be in the appropriate circumstances. Look. My question is, like, will this piss off Alt-Shift-X? I really just want to piss off Alt-Shift-X.
And he's already done with Tyrion.
Yeah, Alt-Shift-X is already done with Tyrion. If Alt-Shift-X does a big video about Daenerys or something, then maybe we will do the fake Daenerys. Just to, steal Alt-Shift-X's views or whatever. I think that would be fun. If it won't annoy Alt-Shift-X, I'm not as
Is there really a
interested
point
in
in
the
it?
concept.
We're
Yeah.
only talking about food descriptions because we heard him say that he hated that idea.
Well, I heard that Alt-Shift-X eats food, actually. So we just thought we'd have to show him what's what. So that's my thinking.
I think we will do a fake. Like, I don't want to, and I know you don't want to, but I think we will do the fake Tyrion at some point.
Yeah, I don't know if you all have watched the fake Jon Snow, but that did psychological damage that might not heal. That was 22 hours of Kit Harington, guys. 22 hours.
It was a lot worse to edit the highlights together and then edit the whole video itself.
Glidus did the hard work.
I would like to one day release that on YouTube publicly in some form. It can't be the full 22 hours, obviously, but...
Yeah.
Maybe a 4-hour highlight cut.
You just said how painful it was to edit that thing.
But that's so funny, saying that it's this is just the best bits. I whittled down just the best bits of this, and it's 4 hours long. That's got to be great.
Yeah, I think that we probably will release some of that exclusive stuff publicly at some point. I don't see why not. But yeah, Glidus has put a lot of work into editing those things down. Because believe it or not, the unedited version of the fake Jon Snow,
it's even longer. It was 27 hours long.
Yeah. Jez says, would you consider the fake Ned or Tywin?
Oh god, if we could do the fake Ned, that would be so easy.
Yeah. I mean, he's not even that fake.
We'd have so little to talk about. It'd be such a breeze. Maybe we should do something like that.
It'd be the mostly accurate Ned Stark.
The pretty much real Ned.
Yemley says, ideas for HBO Dunk and Egg in the case of the Magic Goblet, Dunk and Egg 5, Dunk Harder, Dunk and Egg Go to College.
Oh, that sounds great. Oh, yes. Egg goes to visit Aemon at the Citadel, and Dunk has to, be his chaperone at school.
It's like a college story.
They have to accompany Aemon to the school dance.
Yeah, that actually sounds amazing. And then Egg opens a lemonade stand in Bravos, but lemons don't grow in Bravos, so then they have to go down, and Dunk teaches him geography.
What does Dunk know about geography?
Well, he's tall as he's tall.
Oh, he can
so
see
he can
the map.
it's
like a map in front of him.
The land is the map.
I
Glidus.
see. That is what it's like being tall.
I think we should wrap up this live stream.
I can't believe we did it. I mean, we didn't do it. We were supposed to finish the food descriptions today.
We did a bunch of food descriptions. We did a lot more than we did in the previous.
I feel accomplished.
I think that we will probably. Okay, well, all right. I don't want to make any promises, but I think we have a good shot at actually finishing this food description.
It feels likely. Downright maybe.
We are so glad that you have been here to listen.
It's the best.
I had fun.
I had fun.
I'm glad you had fun.
I'm indifferent as to how much fun you had.
Like and subscribe. Subscribe to AltShiftX. Subscribe to Glidus. Listen to Glidus's music on the side channel and Spotify.
Yeah.
You can listen to these live streams on a podcast app of your choice. Link in the description. You can also listen on Spotify. And we do also have some extra bonus videos like the fake Jon Snow and Hot D Season 2 and Season 1 talks.
The Season 1 retrospective, which is completely unavailable on YouTube.
Yeah, and you can watch that on the Glidus Patreon or the AltShiftX Nebula. And otherwise, what else do we have to say?
What is there to say? We've said it all. We've been through the whole dictionary. We've said every word. That'd be a crazy thing to be able to claim. We went through the dictionary. We've said every word. There's nothing left to say.
I think the dictionary is a bit like the Bible. There's so many different versions, and it's kind of hard to choose.
It's always changing too.
Yeah.
Like Robux is now in the dictionary, and that wouldn't have been the case.
Is it really?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my god.
But you believed me for a moment.
I did.
Dunk and egg, the boiling point.
Duihyo Kaino says, I think John is Ned's bastard because he ruminates about John being a lot like him.
That's true.
I think that's probably not it.
Dunk and egg 3, Tokyo Drift.
Hell yeah. All right, we got to wrap this up.
We have to leave.
We got to wrap this up. Thank you so much, everybody. Do cardio and call your mum.
Brush your teeth.
See you next time. This has been fun.
This has been us.